me and you. We got some unfinished business, we gotta see this through. Oh, who knows, you might be my missus. Who knows, you might be my missus. I know I acted suspicious, just insecure, not malicious. I kept all my secrets hidden, now I promise to change, cause existence is pain, and my life is better with you, yeah, in so many ways. No, I'm not the type to give up, time for me to man up. Don't make a commitment, be a gentleman, that stand up. Whoa, I'm not incompetent, see, I just wasn't cognizant, but that all ends today. No, these aren't empty promises, me and you. We got some unfinished business, we gotta see this through. Who knows, you might be my missus, me and you. We got some unfinished business, we gotta see this through. Who knows, you might be my missus.
Feel like I'm living it twice. All this shit in my mind on my way back to you. Had 20 in the tank and a pocket full of change, but I made that shit last with you. Before life got crazy, laying up in your bed, we was waking up with no cares. It feels like maybe we could bring it right back, back before we got on track. And life got crazy, rolling stone, big blunt road, open road. I ain't worried about much. I know shit is different, hanging on, baby, cause we living so fast. Tryna break bread with our homies. Got a big head, yeah, you know me. Life's like that, never get ahead, moving slowly. Then it went left, went Ginobili. When life got crazy, like I'm living it twice. All this shit in my mind on my way back to you. Had 20 in the tank and a pocket full of change, but I made that shit last with you. Before life got crazy, laying up in your bed, we was waking up with no cares. It feels like maybe we could bring it right back, back before we got on track. And life got crazy. Even if I go to hell, I won't be lonely. If I was sinning with the homies, yeah. Even if I go to hell, I won't be lonely, yeah. At least I have my homies in her, cause we living so fast. Tryna break bread with our homies. Got a big head, yeah, you know me. Life's like that, never get ahead, moving slowly. Then it went left, went Ginobili. When life got crazy, like I'm living it twice. All this shit in my mind on my way back to you. Had 20 in the tank and a pocket full of change, but I made that shit last with you. Before life got crazy, hey, life got crazy, got crazy. For real. Life got crazy on us, just gotta keep going. Even if I go to hell, I won't be lonely. If I was sinning with the homies.
I like that song a lot. That last one's called Tourist 2.0 by R.J. Passon. It's a very nice interpolation. Good morning. How are you on this Sunday morning? I didn't see you there. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. This is Towel News. It's 8:15 a.m. on the dot, pretty much. And we got a lot to get to. I think that's probably a fair statement. We have a lot to get to. It's Sunday, July 12th, 2026. It is, as I mentioned, 8:15 a.m. here in beautiful Boston. It's about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Can't ask for much more than that. That would make it about 2:15 p.m. in South Africa, 3:15 p.m. in Tel Aviv, Israel, and 3:45 p.m. in Tehran, Iran. Well, that was quite a night. All right. We have a lot going on. The quick high-level summary is Iran bombed a ship off the coast of Oman. Okay, there have been tensions flaring over the past 5 days over the Strait of Hormuz. The ship that Iran bombed had UAE and Indian crew. One of the crew members is dead. 25 of them had to abandon their ship on a lifeboat. They were rescued by Oman. Okay, it was somewhere off the coast of like Muscat or somewhere off in the north. It's actually more like the east of Oman. Okay, we're talking like right near the Strait of Hormuz, kind of south of Dubai. All right. Now, here's what's important to understand. Immediately after that, basically immediately, America at 7:15 p.m. last night bombed for the fifth time this week 10 cities across Iran. Okay, Bandar Abbas, Sikirk, I don't know how to spell that city, but a bunch of cities on the southeast coast. All right. Then Iran bombed in succession Kuwait, Bahrain, all U.S. bases, Qatar, which was shocking, okay, Oman, which was even more shocking, and Jordan. Now, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan, those are on the list of retaliatory targets in the past week from Iran after Iran would bomb in the Strait of Hormuz. And then the U.S. would bomb back in Iran. And then Iran would hit Bahrain, where the 5th Naval Headquarters is. And then they would hit in Kuwait, where the Ali Al Saud Air Base is. There's one other base there. I forget the name of it. Then they would hit in Jordan. Okay, Jordan's got some pretty extensive American resources for a number of reasons. It's complicated. Jordan used to be hostile to Israel in the West, and then it kind of got overthrown. Then it became like very pro-Israel and U.S. And so we have a lot of bases there. You should have seen the interceptors flying up over Jordan. We must have some really expensive equipment there, because we don't have a lot of PAC-3 Patriot interceptors, and we were firing them off. All right, it was actually daytime in early morning this morning in Jordan when the missiles started coming in. I got some footage to show you. Now, we're in this very precarious situation. I'm going to take you through all the developments now, but that's the... Oh, and by the way, Lindsey Graham, the high-ranking U.S. Senator, who is 71 years old, from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham was in Ukraine yesterday, but doing a bunch of deals with the Ukrainians, who are now very much in the favor of the West and the U.S. President, Donald Trump. And what you must understand, I don't know if folks really understand the implications of Senator Graham's death. Yes, we must all recognize that Senator Graham was 71, and he flew on a plane from Ukraine to the United States. However, you must realize President Nixon was like 70 and had deep vein thrombosis and flew to China and lived. All right? So I just want to point that out. Secondly, although we should keep that into consideration. Secondly, you must understand, 24 hours ago, and I will show you the footage, Lindsey Graham was in Ukraine talking to President Zelensky. Now, 30 days ago, or thereabouts, President Putin bombed a 1,000-year-old Christian church in Ukraine that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, I don't know if you know, Mr. President, but his entire opinion on something can shift dramatically based on, one, whether you're winning, whatever it is that he thinks you're fighting, whether he thinks you're winning, because he likes a winner. And then 2, whether you, like, insult Jesus. He really likes Jesus. I don't know what to tell you. People can debate it all you want. He just really likes Jesus, okay? I don't know why. I really like Jesus. I guess I know why. Probably my Nana. But that's not really relevant. The point is, some people just like Jesus a lot. Other people like other religions. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, people really like him. Other people like other various prophets and gods. That's fine. Okay, Mr. President, just analyzing this, happens to really like Jesus. So bombing a 1,000-year-old Christian church was not a good life decision by President Putin. Now, why is this relevant? Because 30 days ago, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, at the explicit instruction of Mr. President, immediately after President Zelensky showed Mr. President the pictures of that Christian church that was bombed out by the Russians, immediately the U.S. CIA began assisting Ukraine. Now, if you monitor the Ukraine-Russian war, which not everybody does, Jake Bro does, Trip of the Bod does, I do a little bit, what you may have noticed is over the past 30 days, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ukraine does have these Flamingo missiles, okay, which are German tech, and they're really good, but they're new. But all of a sudden, like 30 days ago, Ukraine starts hitting, like, very big Russian oil targets, 1,500 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers, 2,500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Ukraine is striking at will in Moscow over and over and over and over again. They're striking St. Petersburg while Putin's holding, like, a major conference. All right? The attendees are, like 2 weeks ago, are going to the conference. They're looking like a mile away, and Ukraine's hitting the St. Petersburg oil depots, which, remember, is a majority of Russia's tactical leverage, economic leverage, their LNG, liquid natural gas, and oil exports, which go through their major oil export ports, which are like St. Petersburg, Kaliningrad, etc., etc. And they also have fuel storage depots in Moscow and throughout the region. Okay, and then they have like missile sites, and that's what Ukraine's hitting. You think Ukraine just miraculously was able to do that? No, it was America. America was feeding intelligence and missiles and tech to Ukraine, and Ukraine was then striking in Russia. That was payback for Russia giving the Iranians money and weapons and defense systems and like tech and signals intelligence during the 40-day war between Iran, the US, and Israel. Okay, it's complicated. All right, so one more thing that really upset the Russians was there'd been this waiver on President Trump's desk for like a year to allow the Ukrainians to produce PAC-3 U.S. Patriot interceptors. Right now, Lockheed produces them. There's 650 per year. During the war, the 40-day war, Israel used 100 of them. America defending itself. America used 200 just defending Israel. That's not to mention what we fired up in Kuwait, what we fired in Bahrain, what we fired in UAE. Who knows where else we fired them off. The point is the same, though. We can make 650 per year in one plant. Lockheed can make 650 of the PAC-3s. Ukraine got a license like 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, to produce them. Now, part of the reason is Ukraine was about to produce its own independent, like European-based competitor to the Patriot system. So, but we just gave them a license. So that's a huge game changer. And you got to understand, Iran then put out a hit list of American leaders with Graham on it, Senator Graham. So now you got America's two biggest enemies outside of China, the name commies, the two biggest enemies of America, Russia and Iran, both very angry at Senator Graham and Mr. President Trump for their support of Ukraine and their attacks on Iran. Now, did you know that Russia is the world specialist in latent toxic poisoning? Yes, you may remember the Novichok poisoning from the Skripals, was that what it was? Julia and her father, the Russian turncoats, as Putin would call them, who were living in the UK, they put that stuff, do you understand, KGB, whatever they're called, SVR, whatever they are these days. They went, two men who then got interviewed on Russian TV, went to the UK, and you know how they got them? They took a perfume bottle, okay? They sprayed it on the door handle of the people's home. Then they took the damn perfume bottle, threw it out in a trash bin. 4 people almost died because the 2 targets, the Russian dissidents, touched the door handle. Okay, and this poison is very dangerous. It's like a weaponized biochemical weapon that only Russia has. It's called Novichok. That was what they used for that. Do you understand? Then, down in the center of this small British hamlet, these 2 people who are like going through the trash to sort it or whatever, touch the perfume bottle. They then go over to a park and just like collapse on a bench. That's how, like, that's just, the Russians are that malicious. And yes, they do this stuff. They do it on the regular. They've been building these biological weapons for 40 years. Now, the case that I just told you about was like 15 years old. Okay? These weapons develop exponentially. They are like the most closely guarded state secrets in the world. They're designed to mimic heart attacks, to mimic stroke, to mimic natural conditions, and leave no trace in the bloodstream, especially if you don't get it right away. That's how they're built. That's why they're so valuable. They take a long time to make. Russia is the world's leader in clandestine toxin-based assassinations. In the early 2000s, they did it with plutonium. You remember the Russian spy who was in the UK? He was he went to tea with some guys who he thought were Russian dissidents, but they were actually KGB. They laced the tea kettle with plutonium or whatever it was. He drank out of it and he was dead within like 6 months. But that's how they do you when they want you to suffer. When they just need to kill you, if they're I need to be direct about this. When the Russians just want to take you out and leave no trace, they use Novichok or another silent chemical agent that mimics a heart attack and leaves nothing in the bloodstream. So what I would recommend is that first of all, the Ukrainians need to take seriously that their security services are compromised by the Russians. That's obvious. Second, I would go to every surface that Senator Graham touched in Ukraine over the past, whatever it is, 24 hours immediately. I would send the U.S. Authorities over there. I would not let the Ukrainians do it. And I would examine every single surface he touched. You got to do it right away. Right away. You don't have a lot of time. And now here's the other thing. This is also something that North Korea specializes in. Now, their attack was on Kim Jong-il's like brother or something. He was in Malaysia living under a fake name. And these 2 women, this was about 10 years ago too, these 2 women were tricked into going up to him and shaking his hand or whatever, like putting something on his face. And they were told it was part of a game show. Well, it turns out it was a nerve agent that the 2 women, like, you have to activate it because it's so dangerous. You have to keep it in 2 different forms. Then you rub it together on your hands and then you put it on someone. Okay, that's what they did. Okay, that is a fast-acting nerve agent. That dude was dead within like an hour. There are other things called like slow-acting nerve agents where it like onsets over time, and by the time it onsets, there's no trace of the original toxin in the body. A lot of them are like shellfish-based toxins, like derivatives of shellfish-based poisons. They're very, very complex. It's somewhat known because the Russians use them, so other countries like reveal what Russia's doing, but they're still like 10 years behind. So anyway, just you got to understand, the applicators for these nerve-based biotoxins are like perfume bottles spraying the substance on a door handle, for example, hand-to-hand contact after you activate the nerve agent. Okay, that's another example. Or, and what they might have done with Graham, if it's a really high-level operation, what they have is this like skin patch thing where you can shake someone's hand and it's only on one side. It is a real thing. You see it sometimes in TV and whatnot, but it is real. It's just a way to apply a toxin like only one side. It's like a double-sided patch and the toxin's only on the outside. And you just shake their hand and then you dispose of the patch. Or ideally, you put it in like a container and get it out of the country with you. So there's no evidence. Because if you use like Russia learned from the UK situation with the perfume bottle, you can't leave the perfume bottle. One, you're going to kill innocent people, and that's really going to piss people off. That got Russia in a serious amount of trouble, those civilians dying. And then two, they're going to catch you. If you leave the item that you use to distribute the neurotoxin, even if they don't find the neurotoxin in the person's body, they're gonna find it. Now listen, if this was a state-sponsored hit, they will be able to prove it, but they got to move quick. You have to move like immediately. You don't have a lot of time. And you got to look at every surface he touched and every person he came into contact with. They're doing it now, I promise you. And if there's even a hint that he was poisoned, we'll know. We'll know. Because they'll act on it. With this kind of thing, I think we might actually know. I don't think that this was a false flag. I think this was... They couldn't get to President Trump a few days ago in Ankara. They planned on it, apparently, that based on how the U.S. reacted to the New York Times running the story about the Boeing that came from Qatar and they couldn't use on the way home, the new Air Force One. Based on the way the administration subpoenaed the New York Times journos, I think there was a real threat. It's being reported as non-credible in the press, but I think it was real. And I think that they couldn't get him. Somebody, exposed it. And so because they couldn't get Mr. President Trump, they got Graham. It's the plan B. Always have a plan B. It's not the ideal for them, the Russians and the Iranians, but it's a big take. It's a big hit. That's a lot of institutional knowledge gone. And the most hawkish Republican senator against Russia and Iran gone immediately. And the primary. Who are they going to run? The way South Carolina, where it's really genius. It's what makes me think it's the Russians. The Russians are very good at manipulating American politics. They don't have to do it directly. They can do it indirectly. And one of the ways to do it is take out a candidate that was a shoo-in to win. With now South Carolina has to have an open primary. The law in that state is they have to have a Republican primary, like on an emergency basis. Find some candidate. They probably don't have someone with name recognition. Maybe Nancy Mace. I don't know if the GOP wants that, but yeah, they need someone with name recognition who can run against a Democrat that you can be sure the DNC is going to throw a lot of money behind now. The Senate, that may well cost the Democrats the Senate. I don't know who they have to run. That was a shoo-in. They just might have lost a seat. It's why it screams Putin. I just want to point out everything about it screams Putin. It's a very high level. It was effectuated on Ukrainian soil where the Russians definitely have operatives in the Ukrainian security service. It's absolutely like the calling card of Putin to use a neurotoxin that would mimic a medical condition. And this is so politically astute to take out a Republican senator, a heavyweight who's a shoo-in, and then put South Carolina into play in the primaries. Oh, it's a big deal. It's a big fucking deal. I can't believe it's it's too incredibly precise to be an accident. I'm sorry, it is. It screams Russia. Maybe with Iranian acquiescence or knowledge or complicity, but it screams Russia. And Putin spends a lot of Russian taxpayer money specifically on non-traceable biological weapons, just like this. And this is exactly what it would look like. People think an assassination is with a weapon. No, that's a low-level assassination. A real assassination is with plausible deniability and looks like a medical condition. That's a state-sponsored assassination. And that's why this has all the hallmarks of it. George, so good to see you. Spacey, good to see you. Hi, One Yummy. All right, so that's my analysis. I really wanted to tell people my thoughts about Senator Graham. It's too early to tell, obviously, but you must understand, not just on a hunch, but on a, I believe, reasoned analysis of the circumstances and factors related to this hit, this death. I'm calling it hit already. You can see where my mind's going. Related to this death of Senator Lindsey Graham, it's screaming political assassination by a foreign state-sponsored actor, screaming it. Every indicia, every single one is checked. It's not confirmed. It takes a little bit, but trust me, the U.S. government can, and if it is confirmed, will let the public know, because it's an act of war. If you kill, and remember, the Iranians want revenge. We killed their supreme leader, we killed his grandchild, and his daughter, I'm pretty sure. Daughter-in-law, maybe. We killed, like, children. Do you think they just forgot about it? Now, here's the thing. If I'm right about this, the U.S. government has a serious decision to make. Do you tell the American people what happened and use it as a rallying cry against the Russians and the Iranians? Or is this so humiliating to U.S. prestige that you cover it up? Either way, it's bad. If you cover it up, Russia gets away with it. If you address it directly, shit. You basically have to declare war on Russia. I guess you could blame the Iranians. But the Iranians don't have this kind of tech. I'm telling you, this program started under the Soviets in like the 70s and 80s. I've looked a little bit into it. This program, it's one of Putin's crown jewels. It's the most important weapon program in modern Russia. This specific program, and it's only rolled out at the most important moments, mostly for dissidents who flee Russia, or like KGB agents who turn and work for MI5 or something. And they never do it in the US. They only do it in Europe. Which, because they doing it on US soil is more than an act of war. It's egregious. But doing it in Europe, they can be like, well, you know, that's dangerous to go to Europe. Wasn't us. Prove it. That's exactly what they'll do. Sergei Lavrov will go out there, the foreign minister, and be like, these baseless speculations that Russia would ever do anything to take the life of a respected dignitary, no matter how much our differences, of a foreign nation, is ludicrous. Russia would never do such a thing. And then he'll sit there and smirk. Because that's what Sergei Lavrov does. Put me in a room. Well, I'm not shaking their hands. Put me in a room with the damn Ruskies. I'll negotiate with them. I'll tell them how it is. My point is, listen, the Russians are savvy. And they're so much more involved in chemical weapons than anyone realizes. Novichok, you must understand, if you look up this poison, there is no one else in the world that has Novichok. Do you know why? Because it took like 40 years to develop. Not to mention its applicator mechanisms, which are even harder. Do you know how hard it is to keep a neurotoxin stable and not kill the person who delivers the neurotoxin? It's almost impossible. It can be done, though. Remember, these things are sensitive to light, to oxygen. Like, they degrade. You can't... And then you have to have some, like, either unwitting civilian or your own operative who you need to get out of the country, apply it, and then the target has to touch the substance most of the time. You can do it like this, but that's so obvious. That's what they do in, like, Colombia. You're just walking around, and some girl comes up to you and just does that, and it's scopolamine or whatever it's called. Oh, you're in for it, then you're screwed. Yeah. Ideally, don't walk up to random women in Colombia. And if somebody does this, turn your face, like, just cover your face and run. That's very dangerous. But that's like rudimentary, like, street stuff. When you're talking about state-level actors, they would consider that vulgar to do it so openly. They pride themselves. No, these are cigars. Welcome to the channel. These are my towel cigars. I'm War Reporter Towel. When I'm War Reporter Towel, I have my cigars. But yeah, state-level actors would never be so vulgar as to blow poison in your face or, like, especially at this level, like, shoot you. No. Maybe with, like, a cover story, but no. That's more like Western intelligence. Russian intelligence, if they get you, it looks like a heart attack. And they are thrilled with that. That's their favorite outcome. It may seem simple. Oh, just induce a heart attack. It's not. Try putting a substance in a human body that is completely undetectable, that vanishes, and that induces with a like 99.99% chance a heart attack and leaves no trace. Good luck with that. They can do it, though, and it has something to do with shellfish. Now, Novichok, I'm pretty sure, is one derivative. They have stuff that we don't know about, for sure, and that's probably what this is. I could confirm it. I'm not the person to do that. And Mr. President Trump has the best intel in the world, and he'll make a choice based on what they tell him about what to do. If it was really innocuous or they cannot find anything, I'm talking about reviewing every step he took in Ukraine. If they can't find anything and it looks innocuous, fine. But if there's even a hint that it was a political assassination by Russia or Iran, I mean, this is what it would look like. Russia doesn't need to use a bomb. That's also vulgar. They pride themselves on being able to take someone like that out and then be like, how dare you accuse us? We would never. All right, let's talk about the last 12 hours. I can't confirm. First of all, this someone asked if Senator Graham was taken out. I can't confirm it. We're like 12 hours, less than that, into this. However, all of the factors that would indicate a high-level political assassination by a foreign state actor, especially Russia, are there. It checks every box. The way he died, where he was in the 24 hours before he died, Ukraine, what his political positions were, like very in support of the Iran war, very in support of Ukraine's fight against Russia. The uptick in American support for Ukraine over the past 30 days, the weapons deals with Ukraine over the past 48 hours, the interceptor deals, it all check. Plus, Iran could easily be like, listen, we did it. It gives Putin the perfect cover. Iran, remember, who has the most incentive to claim that hit? Iran. They don't have the capabilities to do that, but who would want them to claim it? Russia. So if there was a deal made, Iran will claim the hit and say that it was in retaliation for Khamenei's assassination. And then, but Russia will have really done it. And it puts the U.S. in a tough position. What do you do? If you get intel that says Russia did it, but you really want to hit Iran, wouldn't you just say Iran, and Iran's claiming responsibility? Why would you ever go out there and be like, yeah, it was actually Russia, Iran's lying. Iran's just claiming credit, so we'll hit him. No, you would hit Iran. And who wins that battle? Russia. Because then Russia doesn't get involved at all. Nobody even talks about Russia. Sorry, this is too perfect. Everything about it is too perfect. The political consequences of the South Carolina Senate election, the wider American Senate picture with the Republicans fighting the Democrats for control, the Republicans almost guaranteed to lose the House, Plattner just being taken out of the Senate race in Maine, handing the race to Collins, the Republican. Sorry, it's too smart. It's Putin. This is what he does. He's that smart. He's evil. But he's smart. He's a genius. Don't mistake someone who's crazy for being dumb. Crazy people can be very smart. That's what people don't understand. We associate being crazy with having a low intellect. No, you can be absolutely out of your mind and be very, very smart. You just do crazy things. You make really weird choices. You do immoral things. But he's a godless communist heathen, so what do you expect? I'm not saying everybody's who's godless. Some people can believe whatever they want, but he happens to be Putin is very dangerous. People think Netanyahu is dangerous. At least, and I say this recognizing that he has a lot of bodies on him, at least Netanyahu has the stones to go out there and tell the world he's a monster. And just be like, yeah, that was us. What are you going to do about it? Putin is more of a coward, all right? He does things like secretly, like Soviet style. That's how he was trained. He's from the KGB. That's where he made his bones. And you could be sure he doesn't just have bodies on him with missiles. He took lives. 100%. That's the only way he got to where he is. So he personally has taken lives, unlike a lot of other world leaders. And so what does it matter to him ordering just another hit? He doesn't care. But he does it in a ruthless, methodical way that always benefits him. He clearly wants President Trump to get impeached, and he wants President Trump to face a hostile Senate. So he wants President Trump to lose the Senate majority, and he wants the Democrats to have a majority in the House of Representatives, okay? To impeach, and then he wants, you're never going to impeach President Trump in the Senate. You're never going to convict him. But he wants him to go through a trial where he doesn't have majority support, where the Senate is Democratic controlled. All right? And Iran wanted Graham dead, so did Russia. It's too perfect. And it's also a message from Putin. Don't go to Ukraine. He hates that people support Ukraine. It drives him insane. He has no idea why all these countries, the Middle Eastern countries, President Trump, etc., are circling the wagon around Ukraine. He hates it. So, sorry, it all lines up. Good morning, Taliban Bunny. Good morning, Kofi. Good morning, Bo. How you all doing? Good morning, AJS. Hello to the country of Australia. You're all wonderful. Hello, Shannon. Hello, Star Child. Well, you know, Star Child, spirituality, much like the human relationship with truth, is asymptotic. I think it's approaching, but never touching, a perfectible axis that is per se outside the ability of the five temporal human senses to understand. And, much like a tesseract, for humans who live within a world that clearly has information outside of the five senses, okay? I think technology and its ability to measure those very refined sort of energetic waves is a testament to that. For humans to be so naive to think that they, living in a 3D world, looking at an imprint of a tesseract, can understand its form, it's the epitome of naivete, in my opinion. So that's my opinion about God by analogy. It's foolish to even try to understand something that by definition does not exist within the ability of the five senses, for good reason, to interpolate. We just kind of see its impression on our 3D world. And we're like, oh, that must be a nested cube. Well, yeah, but what is a nested cube if it's like rotating in time and space in a way you can't understand? What are you describing? So that's why I call it an asymptote, our relationship with spirituality and truth. It approaches but never touches that perfectible x-axis. If we could touch it, well, I don't think we'd like that very much. There'd be no mystery to the universe. Humans love mystery. All right, we're beginning our recap of what happened over the past 12 hours. Hello, good morning to all of you. That was my 30-minute spiel on the very serious implications of the death of Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, perhaps it is as simple as an older gentleman who is a very powerful senator about to cakewalk an election in like 2 months that relates directly to the control of the U.S. Senate, who's also vociferously in support of the U.S. war on Iran and the Ukraine war on Russia, or not on Russia, but the Ukraine war against Russia, and Ukraine in particular. Maybe he just flew on a flight, got sick, passed away. Maybe. All right, let's take a listen to what the IRGC said last night that started this all. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Begin, Mr. British Reporter Tal, please.
Conversation. Breaking. IRGC announces it fired warning shots at ship, closing Hormuz Strait entirely. The IRGC Navy has announced that a vessel that did not abide by Iran's rules for crossing the Strait of Hormuz was subject to warning fire and was subsequently intercepted. Because of the escalating situation, the Strait of Hormuz is closed until further notice. Full statement. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Qasim al-Jabrin. In our previous statement, we clarified that foreign interference in the illegal determination of shipping routes in the Strait of Hormuz would prompt us to take decisive action and would hinder efforts to increase maritime traffic in the strait. A few hours ago, these warnings were disregarded. Instigated by foreign parties, several vessels attempted to navigate along an unauthorized route, ignoring our warnings and reminders regarding the necessity of correcting their course and adhering to the authorized path. Consequently, one of the vessels, which compromised maritime security by disabling its systems, was subjected to warning fire, resulting in its interception. As a result of this incident, and given the unstable security situation arising from illegal foreign interference, the Strait of Hormuz will be closed until further notice, and until U.S. interventions in the region cease, with no vessels permitted to pass through. Furthermore, should the aggressor enemy err by launching a new act of aggression against us, using this self-inflicted incident as a pretext, we will respond forcefully and target the enemy's new bases in the region. The nations that have permitted the entry of the U.S. Zionist enemy into their territories bear responsibility for the consequences of this interference. Victory comes from Allah alone, the Most High, the All-Powerful, the All-Wise. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Navy.
So that was what started this all. Now the ship that was hit was off the coast of Oman, okay? And immediately after Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and bombed that ship, and this was not a normal bombing, they sank that ship. It was a commercial ship, they sank it. All the sailors had to evacuate. They were called mariners. They had to evacuate onto a lifeboat. One of them died. We don't know the nationality of the dead soldier. May he rest in he was not a soldier. This was a commercial vessel, correction. He was a maritime soldier. He was a sailor on a merchant vessel. Okay? May God rest his soul. This was not a regular attack on a ship. They were really mad. Because remember, 24 hours before that, Mr. President Trump issued an ultimatum, according to news reports, saying Iran's got to put out a public statement saying the Strait of Hormuz is open. Immediately upon that 24-hour countdown ending, Iran bombed a ship and sank it, a commercial vessel. Hello, Marie. Good morning. Hello, Nanya. How are you? All right, so as this is happening, okay, I'll take you through the developments. There's about a 5-hour lull, okay? Maybe a 3-hour lull. And then this happens. I'm going to take you through it in real time. There are reports within 3 hours of of missiles hitting Iran, okay? And then Iran immediately launching missiles at 5 countries, as I mentioned: Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. So these are the missile launches in the early morning from Iran towards those 5 countries. I'm going to take you through each development as it occurred, and I'll get you caught up and we'll see what the day brings. Okay, you can see more pictures of the missiles flying through the Iranian sky. Then the sirens sounded in Bahrain, okay, and then the 5th Fleet, the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet, mostly abandoned, the base there in Bahrain was hit. That's the fire burning this morning at the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Then, more pictures of the U.S. base in Bahrain, the 5th Fleet Naval Headquarters, began to emerge. That is the 5th Fleet Naval Headquarters in Bahrain this morning, burning down. That's this morning. Now, I'll show you pictures. This is what caused Bahrain to take hits. This is overnight. I'm going to give it to you full screen. If you're just tuning in, this was the American missile launches from Bahrain towards Iran last night. You're looking at U.S. missile launches, not interceptors. Those are HIMARS. It's a tough name of missile to spell. It's like they're like an American missile that fires. They're very interesting to look at when they fire. But anyway, they are serious missiles. They're not interceptors. They're meant to attack. And they're firing from Bahrain at Iran. Now, this footage should not exist, okay? Because this is bad for Bahrain if footage gets out showing that American missile launches are occurring from their territory. Why? Well, because look what happened the next morning, within like an hour of those launches, because that's then used by Iran as grounds to strike the U.S. missile bases in Bahrain, and now you're going to see that footage. So you can see smoke burning in the distance. This is Bahrain, the U.S. 5th Naval Fleet headquarters this morning, immediately, within like an hour of the missile launches you saw before. Now I'm going to show you more footage from Bahrain. You can see the smoke burning in the background. Now I'll show you more footage from Bahrain this morning. I showed you that picture, now I'll show you a video. This is the U.S. 5th Naval Headquarters this morning. On fire again. It's mostly abandoned. It's been attacked about 10 times during the war. By the way, 6 p.m. tonight, as Alvaro so astutely points out, is a big moment. Because remember, at 6 p.m. Eastern time, or 6:30, right around there, the oil futures open. You're going to watch the Brent crude price, which closed trading at 76 on Friday, dollars per barrel. That's the European oil. You're going to watch that. If it shoots above 80, that's your sign something's very concerning. Oh, we have a Persian username. I love it so much. Welcome. Hello to the people of Iran. Secondly, you're going to watch the U.S. West Texas Index. That's the U.S. oil prices. That's going to open. If that shoots above 80, concern. Above 90, alarm bells. Towards 100, run around in circles. Then, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, you're going to watch the Nikkei 225. That's the Japanese index. Okay, that's going to open first. That's the first market to open. And then you're going to watch the Shanghai Composite, okay, and then the Hong Kong Index. Watch those. As goes the Nikkei, so goes the rest of the markets. Because the European markets will open like 3 to 4 hours later, and then 3 to 4 hours after that, maybe 5, the American markets open. And it's always as goes the Nikkei, so goes the European and American markets. Silent Dogs has finally found a country he is willing to say is real, and it is the country of Iran. Congratulations to the people of Iran. Silent Dogs is a very tough judge of what countries count as real. We've never found one that he considered real. It is your country that he considers real. That is a big honor on this channel. All right, so going back to the countries that Silent Dogs does not think are real. No, we're actually going to take a look at the footage that the IRGC released last night. Upon their first launch, they released a second video upon their second series of launches. The Persian on the screen here translates, it's written on the missile, it translates to, quote, "We will fight till the last drop of our enemy's blood."
Ya Allah! MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
I mean, I'm not a ballistic missile expert, but those look like very mean missiles. They look very mean. So those were the missiles that were launched from Iran. The Iran strikes included overnight the Prince Hussein Air Base in Jordan, the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the Kuwait Sheka Port, the 5th Naval Fleet Base in Bahrain and the Jufair District, and Oman's Dukam Port and the U.S. military fuel tanks located there. Alright, now I'm going to show you, there was also a strike at Yasuj, Y-A-S-U-J, in Buir Ahmad Province, Iran. Okay, so there was a strike south of Isfahan in Yahuz. I can't say that second word. Kohgilue. There was a strike this morning at a military facility south of Isfahan. That is notable because it's more inland than the other strikes on the coastal cities from Bandar Abbas up through here and then down through here. Now, I'm going to take a look. We're going to take a look now this morning at the hills of Ilam province, western Iran. If you would like to geolocate this is going to be latitude 33.07156, longitude 47.493878. Hi, Larson. It's so good to see you, my dear friend. Hi, Paul. How are you? So this is Iran, the result of a U.S. strike, still burning in the daytime. So whatever America hit under that mountain is burning through the mountain. I can assure you that's what that is. Because the strikes weren't in the daytime. They were overnight. So whatever we hit, I don't know. I've never been to Ilam province. I've never been to those specific geo coordinates. But whatever the hell we hit, it is burning through the mountain. So, yeah, Silent Dogs. As far as I'm aware, sand doesn't just burn, you know. So I'm gonna guess there's something like missiles under the mountain that were blown up, and they are burning through the mountain. Yeah, smoldering might be the appropriate word. I'm gonna guess there's actual fires because there's nothing on this hillside. What Iran does is it builds military bases under hills, as you know, throughout the whole country. For those of you who watch this stream, there's nothing there. We didn't set fire to this random mountain. What's burning is under the mountain, and what you're seeing is the flames penetrating through the rock. I'm almost positive of that. There's no like fire there. There's no installations on the mountain or in the valley. It's under the mountain. So whatever the hell we hit is burning. I don't know what we hit, but it was rough. All right, so I'll continue. So that was only part of it, though. We have more to get through. Now I'm going to take you to the province of Shahar-e-Babak in Iran about 9 hours ago, where one of the missiles was fired towards Qatar. That is indeed an Iranian missile being fired toward Qatar. That's a mean missile, as we would say. That doesn't look like a missile of peace. The trending topics this morning on X were Lindsey Graham, Jen McCabe, Scott Jennings, and Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. So that was an odd thing to wake up to. Now I'm going to take you to the skies of Qatar, which were lit up with interceptor missiles and sirens this morning after Iran attacked, shockingly, Oman and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Jordan. Here's Qatar, the skies this morning. What you won't see on Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera tends to black out stuff like this, so I'm just going to play it a few times. They don't like to show attacks on Qatar. Oh, Otto says, I just got here. I'm wondering if Senator Graham wasn't the leaker. Remember when Trump changed planes in Turkey? Interesting, Otto. Firstly, God bless you. And then also my thoughts, Otto, are that what that might have actually been was, I think the initial target with potentially Qatar's help was President Trump. And then when the plan failed, Lindsey Graham was target B. So I don't think he was the leaker. I think he was the second option for whoever whatever state actor. This was not a non-state actor, and I'm pretty sure Lindsey Graham's death was not an accident or just a circumstance of health. I think it was a hit, but I can't prove it. I'm not the U.S. intelligence community. They got some work to do. But yeah, I don't think he was the leaker. I think he was the secondary target. That's my analysis. One more view, though, of Qatar this morning. Good morning, Kevin from South Boston. I don't think that's the FBI in the skies of Qatar, but I've heard of stranger things. Now, let's take a listen to one of the last things that Lindsey Graham said before he died.
So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war.
Oh! Could you say that one more time?
So
May you rest in peace, Senator. Because I think you gave your life in the fight against Putin's madman form of communism.
When I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. So when I get back to Washington,
One more time.
I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war.
The last words, Senator Lindsey Graham. Let's take a look at some of the pictures of Senator Graham's trip to Ukraine, where he met with President Zelensky. And oh look, he was advancing Ukrainian efforts to produce drones and other various weapons that Russia really doesn't like that Ukraine produces. Interesting. Now I'll take you, speaking of Ukraine and Russia, I'll take you to Russian-occupied Crimea this morning, where Ukraine delivered some sanctions.
Голова болит полностью. Ой, ё-моё.
The U.S. may not be ready to sanction Russia yet long range, but the Ukraine certainly is. Now, I mentioned to you the MV GFS Galaxy, the Indian and UAE crewed ship that was sunk. It's actually sinking right now off the coast of Oman. All 25 crew members have evacuated the ship and were rescued by, I think, the Navy of Oman, I'm pretty sure. One crew member is dead following the attack, and the ship is a loss. The ship is gone. So Iran didn't just shoot. When they shoot at a ship, they will sometimes use a missile that will disable the engine room. They did not disable the engine room. They hit below the waterline, and they sank this ship. To sink a ship, you have to penetrate the holes. It has different holes, because a ship can survive if one of its, a hole is divided into sections. And if you penetrate one of the sections, the ship can survive, okay? Because the sections are sealed off from each other. So its buoyancy is designed to stay afloat, even if you penetrate and rip open a hole in one of the holes. To really destroy or sink a ship, you have to actually blow up a majority of the side of the ship. You must sink enough, you must hit enough of the hull to breach containment in 50% of the hull, and then the ship will go down. Otherwise, or you have to split the ship in half from the deck. Good luck doing that though with a container ship. I guess you could. More likely though, they just sank it. It's more cost efficient to just hit. You need to hit with a very big missile at the waterline, and then you can sink a boat. But that's a message. They're saying, listen, now, if you try to traverse that southern route that the U.S. is guarding, we won't just damage your boat, we will sink your boat. Which is different than they haven't sunk any boats until now. And they sunk that boat. And it's well, yes, by the way, Otto, you know, one of the reasons why the Titanic was advertised as unsinkable is it was one of the first boats to utilize this segmented hull. Probably first civilian ship. I bet the military did it before. But the reason why it was so hard to sink the Titanic is you had to breach 4 containment holes to cause her to go down. And wouldn't you know it, the captain, by splicing the side against an iceberg, did the only thing that would sink that ship, outside of it getting hit by a missile, which I'm pretty sure didn't even exist in 19 whatever it was, 11 or whenever the ship sailed. He actually penetrated 4 of the containment holes by hitting that iceberg. That was the only way to sink that ship. Even if he had done 1 or 2, it would have been fine, even 3. But the 4th one, that was the one that sunk it. So, yeah, that was a freak, strange accident. Not even, it was that, I don't want to get into the history of that boat, but that whole situation was weird. And it was advertised as unsinkable on the basis of the principle I just explained, related to why it's so hard to sink a boat. Boats operate on the principle of buoyancy. They displace water. It's why 80% of commercial goods, oil included, and LNG flow over the water, because it's cheap to displace water via the principle of buoyancy, buoyancy, and then move goods, okay? It takes far less propulsion, and therefore fuel, to move something over water compared to fly it over land, or put it on a train, frankly. But you must understand, if your hull is all one piece, okay, then the air displacing the water is going to immediately be compromised if the hull gets penetrated. But if your hull has water locks between each segment of the hull, then you can take hits on a certain number of your compartments without sinking. That is the principle upon which the Titanic was advertised as unsinkable. Obviously, ships are not unsinkable. That's a fallacy. But if Iran sunk a ship, it means they did one of 2 things, which is very abnormal and represents a drastic escalation. They either hit the ship with such a big missile that it tore the ship in half from the deck down, which I don't think happened, or Iran used a missile that hit at the waterline and penetrated more than 50% of the containment holes, which is shocking. You have to do that deliberately. You don't do that by accident. So, that's why the sinking could represent a drastic escalation. Silent dogs, you and the dogs have a wonderful time in the water. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. Welcome to Breakfast with Tal. You got me for at least another hour or so this morning. You may have to see me again later today, depending on developments. However, I'm going to be with you until at least it's my lunchtime. All right, so you can see, then about 4 hours ago, the UKMTO put up an advisory. I'm just going to read it to you. Quote, JMIC, the Joint Maritime Information Center, is sharing information on the following page for the awareness of owners, operators, and mariners. Specifically, it reiterates available routes for transiting the Strait of Hormuz in response to Iranian proclamations. Then, it says, the maritime security threat level in the Strait of Hormuz remains severe. Quote, despite the July 12, 2026 Iranian proclamation that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the southern route remains available and has been expanded to accommodate two-way traffic. Mariners should expect VHF hailing from naval forces and be cognizant of the mine danger area in the traditional traffic separation scheme published in JMIC Advisory 011-26. Quote, mariners are reminded that they are strongly encouraged to maintain engagement with NCAGS and utilize established reporting and coordination procedures. Quote, coordination with NCAGS is not mandatory. Ships may transit the southern route without coordination. 3. Quote, there is no controlling authority regulating passage or fee required for any route. Quote, action. Vessels are encouraged to communicate with NavCent and CAGS, MBA NavCent, for information regarding safe transit routes. So the U.S. is doubling down here. This is the latest This is what the ships are being told right now. Just go through. What? No, thank you. The only ship that's transited this morning was a Chinese ship with IRGC permission through the northern route. I already looked at the maritime traffic. I'd be like, no, thank you. I don't want my boat to be sank. You could send your boat through. Send a few U.S. Navy boats through. See if they make it, and then I'll think about it. All right, now I'm going to take you to Ukraine, where overnight the Ukrainian forces struck the SYZRAN oil refinery in the Samara region. This is one of the largest in the area that produces 8.5 million tons per year of oil. Let's take a look. Footage of Ukrainian strikes on a Russian oil depot, one of the largest in the Samara region, overnight. Those are what President Zelensky refers to as long-range sanctions. That porthole view is very distinct, but it's common from footage from Russia. And this is the Ukrainian army taking the Russian civilian footage and using it, much like Hezbollah will use. Oh, that was a good hit, right on the smokestack. Much like Hezbollah will use footage from Israeli civilians, Ukraine uses footage from Russian civilians to point out their hits. Okay, I showed you the air defense activity over Doha, Qatar. I'm going to show you this again because Al Jazeera did not show this. Doha was hit. I don't know where the missiles hit. At least 3 were fired and hit in Qatar. This is the footage Al Jazeera doesn't want to show you. They blacked this out entirely. And for whatever reason, like Qatar, UAE, like Dubai, they really don't like when this footage gets out. When the civilians show footage of the interceptors, or God forbid a hit, they get very upset. So that's Doha. Very rare pictures, especially because Al Jazeera blacked it out. Now you can see one of the interception attempts over Doha, and another pretty rare picture. Not something you're going to see on most news. The governments would really prefer the people not post this, but I'm in the U.S., so. I went over for you the strikes that the IRGC claimed overnight. If you're just tuning in, the IRGC sunk a commercial boat, killing a civilian mariner, forcing 25 mariners into the ocean on a lifeboat who were rescued by Oman. And then immediately after, the U.S. struck like 10 targets, 10 different cities in Iran. And then immediately after that, Iran expanded its strikes and hit Jordan, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. And by the way, during the war, Iran only hit Qatar once. And first of all, Iran didn't even hit Oman. Okay, Oman got hit once by a drone. Iran immediately apologized and was like, that wasn't us. I'm pretty sure it was the Houthis. The Houthis are a little trigger happy down in Yemen. They're an Iranian ally. Alright, you got Iranian allies in Lebanon. That's Hezbollah. In Yemen, that's the Houthis. And in Iraq, that's the Blood Guardians. You also got the Mujahideen for the Islamic Resistance in Syria. Ansar al-Dam or something. I don't know the full name. Think of it like a baseball team. Iran's like the major league club, and then Hezbollah is the AAA affiliate. They're the Mujahideen for the Islamic Resistance in Lebanon. Then you got the AA team. They're the Houthis. They are not the Mujahideen for the Islamic Resistance. They started in like the 90s, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, with this man named Mr. Houthi. Alright? Yemen's a very complicated country. There's a lot of tribes in Yemen, okay? But just understand, in like 2000 or 1990s, they had a parliament, okay? And there was this man named Mr. Houthi. Mr. Houthi got expelled from the Yemen parliament, and he had to go up in the north of Yemen, okay? And he was fighting a resistance movement because he was mad that he got kicked out of the parliament. Now, Mr. Houthi died pretty quickly in a cave north of Yemen near the Saudi Arabian border. Yemen's at the southern part of the Saudi Arabian peninsula. It's to the west of Oman. Oman's to the east of the Saudi Arabian peninsula, and then north of Oman is the UAE, and then across the Strait of Hormuz, which is in the Persian Gulf, is Iran. But anyway, that's not relevant. Going back to Yemen. So Mr. Houthi's up in the north of Yemen, and he dies in a cave. And then his men form the Houthi movement, okay? And basically, I'm generalizing, they take up his name and then start a war mostly against Saudi Arabia, but also against the Yemen government, which at the time is backed by like a bunch of different countries. But over time, and this gets complicated, over time in the south of Yemen, okay, there's like a government that kind of collapses. But it reforms into two different parts. Okay, we're going to just call it the Yemenis National Council. It has a longer name, but we're going to call it that. It's backed in part by Saudi Arabia, and then also in part by the United Arab Emirates, both of whom are hostile to Iran, okay? And then the Houthis are constantly expanding their territory in the north of Yemen. They're constantly expanding south. And by 2014, with Iran's help, the Houthis are bombing Saudi Arabian airports, causing, Saudi Arabia bombed the Houthis first. And then the Houthis, which Saudi Arabia was not expecting, bombed Saudi Arabian airports. Thank you so much to Angela Burke for that wonderful gold coin. God bless you. Then the Houthis bombed Saudi Arabian airports. Now, Iran, from 2014 until now, has been supplying the Houthis with missiles, weapons, etc. The Houthis have taken advantage of the fact that there's this fractured ruling coalition in the south of Yemen. Now, to make this even more complicated, Al-Qaeda is also in Yemen, but they are fighting everybody. They're mad. They don't like the Houthis. They don't like the Saudi Arabian and UAE-backed government, and the Al-Qaeda in Yemen, which is in like the southeastern part of the country, is being bombed by the U.S. Okay? And the Houthis are being bombed by the U.S. Okay? And this has been going on for like 12 years. Okay? But in the midst of all that, the Houthis, because they're on this like sea between Africa and Saudi Arabia, send missiles up towards Israel, which can hit Eilat and Tel Aviv, and drones, frankly. Okay? So the Houthis are fighting their own war, which they're winning, because the southern Yemenis government is in shambles, and Saudi Arabia and the UAE don't really know what to do, and they're fighting like a two-front war against two groups that don't like each other, and there's like 80 different... You think Lebanon is complicated with the number of faiths and communities and tribes in Lebanon? Try Yemen. There's like 84 tribes, okay? Now the Houthis have consolidated a lot of their tribes up in the north under their rule. Okay, that's not the case in the south, and it's in particular not the case in the east of the country, which is over near Oman. So nobody really knows who bombed Oman during the 40-day war in early 2006. Nobody knows. They were bombed once, though. And then Iran was like, stop doing that. So whoever bombed them was an Iranian proxy. It was either the Houthis or somebody else, and Iran was just like, don't do that anymore, because they like the Sultan of Oman. Okay, Iran tries to be friendly with him because like Oman and Iran are working on a deal to control the Strait of Hormuz without American influence. Okay, but Oman also talks to America. Oman's like playing both sides. You get what I'm saying? All right, because Oman is also the route that America is using. It's right along UAE and Oman to get ships through the southern corridor. Iran controls the northern corridor. No one controls the middle because Iran mined the hell out of the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. All right, now, with all that in mind, there's also the Single A affiliate. They are the Blood Guardians. They are the Mujahideen for the Islamic resistance in Iraq. They are way more closer aligned with Iran for a number of reasons. One, when Iraq fought Iran in the 1980s and 90s, Iran basically held off the invasion. And what that did was cause a lot of groups within Iraq to actually be sympathetic to Iran. And they built up like a Hezbollah-like network in Iraq. And if you think Lebanon is a little wild in terms of like how the government doesn't have a lot of control, you should see Iraq. Okay? The Iraqi government is going through some things right now. And even after the U.S. invasion, even after the U.S. withdrawal, whatever you want to call it, the failed campaign, I guess we did overthrow Saddam. I wouldn't say we won that war, though. Iraq was a hotbed of sectarian violence and also a hotbed of Iranian influence, especially in the east of the country, which, like from Basra and the Penny Exclave, which is an area of land that's bordered by two countries on one side, so Kuwait to the west, Iran to the east, its own country on one side, so Iraq to the north, and then water to the south, which is the Persian Gulf, okay? The north of the Persian Gulf. Strait of Hormuz is in the south of the Persian Gulf. The Basra, the Penny Exclave, is in the north, between Kuwait and Iran. It's Iraqi territory. And there's a lot of pro-Iranian resistance groups on that Iraq-Iran border. They're very important because up near Erbil, okay, in the north of Iran, there's U.S. bases. There's also U.S. bases in Baghdad. Iraq plays a very important role in this war in ways people don't realize. Two ways. One, the southern part of Iraq over Baghdad, think about what that is on the map. Tel Aviv over Jordan, okay, over Baghdad, directly into Iran. That is Israel's strike corridor. And that's where their planes fly to strike in Iran. Okay, what's in the north of Iraq? Well, Iran likes to use the principle of circumlocution to fire its missiles, because that's the quickest way to get a missile from one place to the other on the Earth. And long story short, that's how we know the Earth is a sphere. All right? It's slower when flying to go straight. You want to curve. So, Iran likes to fire their missiles from, especially when they're firing at Israel, they like to fire them from the northwest of their country, over the north of Iraq, which is Erbil, over the north of Syria, which is like Aleppo or whatever, the northern city up there, over the north of Lebanon, near Tripoli, over Beirut, over the south of Lebanon, over the north of Israel, near Kiryat Shimona and Haifa, and then into Tel Aviv. How do I know this? Well, I've tracked the missile trajectory of every missile ever fired in this war on cam. And I know that that's how Iran likes to fire their Khorram Shahars at Tel Aviv and Haifa. They like to do it, and Jerusalem, by going through the airspace they know they have groups in that can take out the interceptor missiles. The Khorram Shahar missile, think about what it does. You know about, if you watch this channel, about the Iranian multi-reentry warhead vehicle weapon. It has, a main warhead and missile. It travels at like Mach 8 in the atmosphere, very fast. It gets to its target, and then it releases bomblets that cannot be intercepted. The missile is useless, the Khorram Shahar 4. If it gets intercepted in Erbil, it's useless if it gets intercepted over Syria, and it's useless if it gets intercepted over Lebanon. But you can intercept it, if you're Israel or America, over the north of Israel, and all you're going to do is get the main warhead. You're not getting those bomblets. It got within 7 kilometers of the target. That's Iran's strike corridor. They don't use planes. They clear out interceptors with their proxies who are strategically aligned along that axis, Erbil, Aleppo, southern Lebanon, so they can get their missiles through. It's all coordinated. It's all very tactical, and that's why people must understand what it means when Iran is striking Oman and what else did they strike today? That was pretty shocking. Qatar. Iran can strike wherever they want. When they actually hit Oman and Qatar, they're saying that they know Oman and Qatar are playing them, that they're playing both sides, and that they're lying to the Iranians. That's dangerous. That's how the war escalates very quickly. Yes, it's called a cluster warhead. Now, we have seen the video of the Khorram Shahar. No Khorram Shahars were fired overnight, so I won't show you Mr. Bombi now. But yes, that's how the war's really fought. You need to have a corridor to get your jets or your missiles to the enemy. So you need groups, either like bases, air bases, missile interceptors, or proxy groups to fight over control of your strike corridors. Jason Beatrice, welcome to the channel. Enjoy your towel wrench. Oh, who is it? Is that my dear friend, the Kind Oracle? Hello! I was thinking about you this morning. I didn't have time to make a pancake emoji, but I'm on it. Hashtag towel pancake emojis. You've been on my mind, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Alright, let's continue with our update. We're charging through. That way, whatever happens from this point out, you all will at least be fully caught. Alright? Alright, give me 1 second here. We gotta go much further back now. We're not even close to our full update. Alright? But you're starting to see, as I scroll through some of the videos you will see during the latter parts of the update. Alright, we got a little bit more work to do. Sorry about that. I'm disabled. By the way, my name's Grant Smith Ellis. It's good to see you. I don't burp because I love to. It's just, I'm sewn together from one hip to the other. And, it's not pleasant to live life that way. And sometimes I swallow air. That's very unpleasant. Anyway, my name's Grant Smith Ellis. I hope you're doing well. We're going to take a look now. Okay, so here we were. We were right here. Now, let's take a look at what else Senator Graham said when he was meeting with President Zelensky yesterday in Kiev. Hello, Flower. It's so good to see you. Hello, Nanny Doo. Hello, Nunya. Hello. It's all of you. It's wonderful to see you today, even though this is a 10th Sunday.
Free or die. Free or die.
That one oracle has brought pancakes for us all. Excellent. We shall eat pancakes. I have brought you all the finest pancakes in all of the land. They were made by that one kind oracle. Please feel free to indulge to your heart's content. This was some of the last public statements by Senator Lindsey Graham, by the way. Let's take a listen. Yes, Flower, we're going to listen to his very last public statements. He was in Ukraine yesterday, working with the Ukrainians to arm them in their fight against President Putin. And wouldn't you know it, President Putin, who wants Senator Graham dead, now has what he wanted. Interesting. I wonder if President Putin compromised the Ukraine Security Service and got to Senator Graham.
Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free.
Yes.
And we will be.
And the Russians are down. It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
No, it's...
Quote, Lindsey Graham, one of his last quotes, and the Russians are dying. It's some of the best money we've ever spent. Huh. Nunya, it's never too late, my friend. Hello, in Limony. Now listen, I don't have any confirmation of anything. Okay, I don't. I don't know what happened in Ukraine. I just think that our security services need to track every movement that Senator Graham did in Ukraine and find out if a Russian intelligence operative poisoned him. Russia has the most advanced neurotoxin program in the world, and they can and will use it on dissidents who flee Russia and their adversaries. And Senator Graham is a big get for them. They'll never claim it because they're cowards. They don't want the smoke, but they'll let Iran claim it, I think. I'm now going to take you to Somalia. You're not going to see any weapons in the footage. You will hear some gunfire. Somalia security forces opened fire on civilians in Mogadishu as protests grew against what the locals describe as forced evictions, which is also being described as forced placement. So I'm now going to take you to Mogadishu in Somalia. These were scenes just a few hours ago where civilians were fired upon by security forces.
بس وابعنا وابعنا والله وابعنا هذا بعنا بس واي بس والله وابعنا بس واي وابعنا يا والله باي بس كده بس كده بس كده بس كده بس كده بس كده والله سوي تريدوني جايز هو سوي تريدوني جايز هو سوي تريدوني ايش والله هو
Well, it's very important to me that primary source footage be documented when that type of thing happens, and I will tell you that sounded like, although there's no footage of the soldiers firing, that sounded like live ammunition being fired by Somalia's government at their own people in Mogadishu. Very concerning scenes. No, that was Mogadishu in Somalia, where there is a protest occurring and the government opened fire on their own people. Now I'm going to take you to the scenes from Bushehr, Iran last night, and I'm going to show the scope of American strikes on Iranian territory overnight. Hard to get this footage. I found a few pieces of footage from inside Iran overnight. I'll show this to you on the full screen so you can see. It's a little difficult to see. It's multiple columns of smoke rising over Bushehr, Iran. CENTCOM has just put out a post saying that the Strait of Hormuz is open. We'll see how today plays out. I'm monitoring very closely. Only one ship has gone through the Strait of Hormuz today. It was a Chinese ship in the northern route with permission of Iran. This is Bushehr, Iran, overnight. Kevin from South Boston, are you secretly Michael Proctor? Have you been pulling a fake out on us this entire time? Good morning, Candy. Welcome to the channel. You have a wonderful punny username. Enjoy your towel wrench. Alright, so that was Bushehr, Iran overnight, which was struck heavily. Now I will show you more pictures from Bushehr. At least 4 different strikes. Now I will show you the map of Iranian positions that were hit last night. It included Dar-e-Mashar, Bushehr, Bandar Kagan, Aswela, Dayer, Bandar Abbas, Surik, Bandar-e-Jask, Keshem Island, Konarak, Shabahar, and then one inland city that isn't denoted here. I got the joke, Kevin from South Boston. It was, I mean, you really got to know, but, it's like reading Great Expectations the second time. Now, I will show you anti-air activity from Tehran and Mashhad overnight in Iran during the American attack. This is anti-air fire inside Iran. So Iran has plenty of missiles, and they have plenty of air defenses. I'm showing you the primary source footage. This is Iran overnight. That's anti-air activity. Now, I did not verify this footage. It was posted by an OSINT account, but I will show you more anti-air activity now. I'm not in Iran. I believe this is Bushehr. Yeah, Bushehr. Does look like explosions in the far background, or at least a cook-off of an ammo depot. So you're seeing footage from on the ground in Iran overnight. I'm taking you through the updates. Now I'm going to show you CENTCOM footage, and I'm going to have British reporter to read out for you what CENTCOM had to say this morning as the sun rose on you all. Go ahead, Go ahead, British reporter Tal.
Conversation. U.S. forces finish latest round of strikes against Iran. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, confirmed a third round of strikes this week against Iran, July 11th, holding Iranian forces accountable for attacking another commercial ship in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces hit approximately 140 Iranian military targets with precision munitions launched by land and sea-based fighter aircraft, drones, and naval vessels. Targets included Iranian missile and drone sites, naval capabilities, ammunition storage facilities, communication networks, and coastal surveillance locations. During 3 nights of strikes this week, CENTCOM has struck more than 300 targets at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief to degrade Iran's ability to attack civilian mariners and commercial vessels freely transients the strait. Commercial vessel transits through the vital international maritime corridor continue. Since early May, US forces have helped facilitate the successful transit of more than 800 commercial vessels and 400 million barrels of crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Video footage of US Central Command forces striking Iranian military targets after launching aircraft and cruise missiles in response to Iran's attack on commercial vessels transients the Strait of Hormuz during the week of July 6 to 11, 2026.
We're going to take a look at this video now from US CENTCOM. Alright, this is loud. Please be aware, this is loud. I guess Mr. President is trying to make a point. I'm going to mute. This is going to get loud. I'm going to put it on the full screen. I would advise, the sound warning is in effect. Or a radio mast. So, you're looking at the latest US CENTCOM footage. That was the result of the US attacks. A lot of this is not filmed because there are not just people in Iran standing there filming most of this. You can see here some, what are these? HIMARS system. These are HIMARS missiles from the US. We saw some being launched from Bahrain. Here's footage from Kuwait of some US missiles launching overnight at Iran. Hola, Francisco Castillo. Un momento, my friends. When my friend Francisco Castillo arrives, he gets a personalized update in Spanish. Hola, Francisco, mi amigo. ¿Cómo estás? Tenemos muchas cosas que está ocurriendo a este momento. Primero, durante el noche pasado, Irán fusilarte una bomba al una ship. Y el ship está sinking. No sé la palabra, pero no tenemos el ship este día. Y una persona, unfortunatamente, está a morir este día porque Irán le fusilarte el bomba a un ship. También, los Estados Unidos le fusilarte muchas bombas al Irán, al 10 ciudades en Irán, al noche pasado. Y también, Irán entonces le fusilarte muchas bombas a Oman, a Qatar, a Kuwait, a Bahrein y a Jordan. Y muchas bombas. Entonces, el Strait of Hormuz este día está abrir, open, y closed. No sé la palabra para closed. El último momento, at the same time. Sí, este día. No sé qué va a ocurrir. Va ocurriendo este día. En 9 horas, los marketos del oil y los marketos del Japón va a abrir. Y a este momento nosotros vamos a entender la situación económica. Pero por este momento no sé si Irán va a fusilarte muchas bombas or more bombs, más bombas al ships en el Strait of Hormuz. No sé, es posible. Y entonces no sé si los Estados Unidos va a fusilarte bombas al Irán. Y no sé entonces si Irán va a fusilarte bombas al Qatar, Jordan, Oman, Bahrain y Kuwait. No sé. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, I told my friend Francisco about the series of events over the past 10 hours, and then I said I don't really know what's going to happen today, because as far as I know, the Strait of Hormuz is open and closed at the same time. So as a result, well, maybe Iran's going to fire another missile at a ship, then maybe the US is going to bomb Iran, then maybe Iran's going to bomb other people. No sé. También, Francisco, the only country que Irán no fusilarte bombas al este país, Israel. Israel no fusilarte bombas al Iran y Iran no fusilarte bombas al Israel. No entiendo por qué. And so I also said, for some reason, Iran has not fired at Israel, and Israel has not fired at Iran to this point in time. And that was your Spanish news update. Oh, de nada, Francisco. People like learning Spanish. We have a lot of friends here. They don't really know all the Spanish words, but the more I say Spanish words to them, they kind of know what happened overnight, so they just kind of put it all together. I think sometimes, I did an interview with another channel. It was really actually very sweet. And the very nice man, it was Canton Confidential, the nice man, Eric, was saying, you know, Gray, and I like your coverage of the war. He might be watching right now. How you doing, Eric? Hola, Eric y su esposa. Yo soy una toalla. But anyway, Eric was like, sometimes I'm watching your coverage, and it's really good. And then my wife will walk by, and she'll just hear you speaking in Spanish. And she'll just stop and listen. She's like, wait, he speaks Spanish? Yeah, the only multilingual news report that shifts between Spanish and English depending only on whether Francisco Castillo has come in, my dear friend, to get a news update. Hello, Sabera. Hello, Calvin. Hello, T.A. Sarah. You're wonderful. I thought it said Samara at first. I was like, do we have a Samara? No, it's T.A. Sarah. 77 billion bonus points to T.A. Sarah for getting up nice and early on a Sunday. Oh, Candy, that's wonderful. Su hija puedes entender y hablar español. Creo que español es un idioma muy importante por toda la gente en el mundo. Cuando estoy en el mundo, me gusta hablar en español con la gente en el mundo. Y cuando yo encuentro una persona que puede entender y hablar español, yo soy muy encanto. No me encanto en una romantic way. More, I am just full of joy whenever I meet someone who can speak Spanish, because then I just start speaking Spanish to them. Then they speak Spanish to me. It's great. We get to talk in Spanish. I know, Nanya, it's awesome. You should see me going around in the world. I just start talking Spanish to people. They love it. Now I'm going to take you to an update from Jordan with English captions. Let's take a listen.
أعلنت القوات المسلحة الأردنية سقوط 3 صواريخ فجر اليوم قادمة من الأراضي الإيرانية دون وقوع إصابات، فيما اقتصرت الأضرار على خسائر مادية طفيفة. وأكدت القوات المسلحة أنها لن تسمح باستخدام أجوائها أو أراضيها ساحة للصراع لتهديد أمنها واستقرارها، وستتعامل بحزم مع أي تهديد يمس سيادتها وسلامة أراضيها وأمن مواطنيها.
Hello, Anastasia. I'm so glad to hear you speak Spanish. That's wonderful. You're all doing so wonderful today. Thank you, Mishigama. Jason asks, what's Israel's status on Patriot missile stockpile? Well, during the war, I don't know how many they have left. That's probably a state secret. During the war, they fired 100 to defend Israel. During the war, America fired 200 just to defend Israel. I don't know what the stockpiles are. They're probably low. We had to shift stockpiles from our Pacific stockpiles to the Mediterranean in order to defend Israel and Kuwait and Qatar and Bahrain and God knows what else. Probably the bases in Iraq and Jordan. So we probably don't have many left. We can only produce 650 a year. And that's now. Who knows what production quotas were over the last few years. Francisco, by the way, sends his greetings to everyone. If you speak Spanish, feel free to say hello to Francisco. He speaks Spanish, and he's very wonderful. All right, so that was the update from Jordan, where you just saw that 3 missiles fell. Now, this is a Jordanian station. I translated it to English, or maybe they did. They had captions. So they're just interpolating what the Jordanian army, the Royal Jordanian Army, is saying. I would imagine the hits in Jordan were probably not things falling. They were missiles hitting, but we'll get more information on that as the day goes on. Now, I'm going to take you to Kantara in southern Lebanon, where 4 hours ago, Israeli soldiers were just firing machine guns while there was a battle apparently going on with Hezbollah. Hezbollah hasn't fired, strangely, at Israel in like 2 weeks, despite Israel continuing to bomb and blow up tunnels and homes and burn homes and engage in open combat with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Taking you to Kantara town in southern Lebanon about 4 hours ago. That is certainly heavy machine gun fire. That was Kantara, South Lebanon, 4 hours ago. Good morning, Penny. How are you, my dear friend? A lot of rapid fire updates this morning. Now I'm going to take you through the American attacks on Bushehr, the Iranian response on Bahrain and Kuwait, and then another Iranian video showing launches. So I'm now taking you to Bushehr, I believe, last night. I haven't seen this video. Let me confirm. No, this is not Bushehr. This is videos of Iranian drone launches that are going to be quite loud. Okay? So I'm going to do the sound warning. This was a third video the IRGC released overnight. Please be aware it is going to be very loud. This is a video of IRGC drone launches released by Iran overnight. Alright, that's starting over at that point. So that was the Iranian drone launch video. Now I'll take you to a picture from the U.S. Naval 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain this morning. A couple hours ago, it was burning. Now I'll take you to more footage from Bahrain, which shows a far-off view of the fires burning in the background. You can't see much in this one, but it is footage from Bahrain. And now I will show you another launch video from the IRGC. This one is also very loud, I believe. Let me make sure this isn't the same one we already watched. The second one has like a guy standing with the Iranian flag. I'll know it's that one. Yeah, we haven't seen this one yet. So this gets very loud. And there's a man, he's kind of aura farming a little bit in the words, you know, the modern parlance. He stands there with an Iranian flag during a missile launch. It gets a little loud. I'll let you watch it in the full screen. I think Silent Dogs, if Silent Dogs is still here, he's going to enjoy it. You know, the guy's definitely aura farming. So, you know, hello, hippie chick. Hello, Tammy. It's so good to see you. I agree, Tammy. God bless you. Oh, that would be wonderful, that kind oracle. I would love to go to Italy again. My family's from San Donato Val di Camino. Feed me. It's so good to see you. Yeah, I do agree. I do think the military-industrial complex, that American military sort of prestige might be collapsing a little bit. I also saw Ifti Ahmad was awarded 77 billion bonus points, which TA Sarah then somehow converted into Great British Pounds. Don't ask how that works. It must be some kind of like convoluted exchange rate. I'm thrilled that they were able to make that happen. Flower, I love that Hebrew in the chat. Good to see you, my dear friend. You all are doing wonderful. I'm glad you're able to keep up, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a rapid night of developments. Now, I did promise you I would get this done by 10. We're going to take a little bit more time. Okay, now I'm going to show you photos from George Washington University Hospital last night, where now the late Senator Lindsey Graham was taken. Now, the official story is that Senator Graham was at home after flying back from Ukraine, where he was arming President Zelensky to take down President Putin and preparing a sanctions package against Putin to help Zelensky end the war once and for all. The story is Graham gets home, Senator Graham gets home, suffers a cardiac event, and then is brought to George Washington University Hospital, where he tragically passes away. That is the story as of right now. Okay, the story is called chest pains. Upon arrival, the medics elevated the call to CPR in progress. A supervisor was dispatched for a cardiac arrest. Okay, very similar to the McConnell call last month. And then here's the footage of the ambulance arriving.
Hey guys, I just
Senator
rushed
Graham
out here tonight because I got an unconfirmed tip that a senator has been transported to the hospital. I'm still trying to get all the details.
So this was from Andrew Leiden, who's a freelance photographer. So Andrew Leiden was the first one on the scene last night. There's been sort of very heightened concern among the DC press ever since McConnell's incident. So McConnell was rushed to the hospital and they kind of hid it, which was not good. It was concerning, to say the least. And I think a freelance journo got the 911 call, and then no one really knows what happened to McConnell, to this day. There was this big controversy because some guy went on CNN, was like, I talked to McConnell, and nobody really believes him, and it caused this big scandal. But the point is, it was similar to that call. However, Senator Graham passed away almost right away. So we're going to take a listen now to the message from President Zelensky of Ukraine, who was one of the last people to see Senator Graham alive. They were very much allies. Senator Graham was a crucial part of the sanctions package and the weapons package that Ukraine has been delivered recently. Crucial part of it. And now he's gone. Only 2 countries benefit from Lindsey Graham's death. Iran, and more importantly, Russia. And only one of them has the capacity to introduce a nerve agent that would mimic a heart attack and leave no trace, and that's Russia. Sorry, Iran doesn't have that. Nope. Maybe one day, but not now.
Conversation. Deeply saddened by the news of the passing of United States Senator Lindsey Graham. Lindsey was a true defender of freedom and the values that make our world safer. He visited Ukraine 10 times during the years of Russia's full-scale invasion and was here with our people when it was most needed. We remained in constant dialogue, and I will miss our conversations. We met twice in just the past week. A staunch advocate for bipartisan and bicameral support for Ukraine, in recent weeks, he had been working on important initiatives that could help bring peace closer, including stronger sanctions against Russia. We will always be especially grateful for the recognition of our people and words of admiration for the courage of Ukraine's defenders. America and the world have lost a determined leader. Our condolences go out to Lindsey's family, loved ones, and everyone who had the privilege of working alongside him.
And I have to say, it's eerie, the timing. Right after Iran makes a threat against Mr. President and Senator Graham. Senator Graham, then, who's a big opponent of Russia and Iran, goes to Ukraine specifically to arm Ukraine and prepare a sanctions package. Okay? And what happens? Somehow, right after landing, Senator Graham is dead. I have a lot of questions. And by the way, Senator Graham dying is a big deal because the Republicans don't need a candidate now for a Senate seat that was guaranteed to go red. Guaranteed. They don't have a candidate. people will vote R, but they need a candidate. They have to have an open primary. South Carolina, like, it's almost too eerie that South Carolina is one of the states where if you're the candidate in a senatorial primary and you die before the general, or before the primary and the general election, excuse me, if you die between the primary and the general, the governor can appoint an interim senator under law, but there's a special primary. They have to have an open primary. It's chaos. They might lose that seat because of that. You got to get, who do you have in South Carolina with the name recognition of Lindsey Graham? Maybe, who's that one? I said Nancy Mace, the female representative. She's kind of a hot button. I mean, she's a little controversial with President Trump, but they're desperate, and President Trump can't lose the Senate. He can't. And that was a shoo-in win for them. That's why I'm saying this has all the hallmarks of Putin. It checks every box. Like neurotoxin mimicking a health condition, very high-ranking American official who's opposed to Putin and opposed to Iran, in a congressional race that they were guaranteed to win, that's key to the Republicans holding the Senate, and that puts the race into chaos right before the election. Yeah, has every that's Putin to a T. And our government won't say it publicly, the American government, but I guarantee you there's some analysts who are saying this right now to their bosses, that they have a hunch that it was Putin, because that's it's like, it's called our calling card. States have ways of doing things, and that's Putin's way. That is if Putin were going to hit an American official, that is how he would do it, to a T. Because you don't waste the opportunity. You make it the most effective you can make it. You hit someone that impacts the Senate, impacts the sanctions package, impacts the Iranian war, plausible deniability for Russia, let Iran claim it, Iran claim it. It's exactly what they all want. Reduce American resources by forcing them to recommit them in Iran so Russia can go harder on Ukraine without there being sufficient resources for Ukraine to defend itself. It's exactly what he would do. In fact, I'm not a Putin profiler. I happen to know a little bit about what happened when so you got to really understand President Putin, just so folks understand where I'm coming from. You got to understand perestroika. If you don't understand the last days of the Soviet Union, you won't understand what happened next. So perestroika was a sort of experiment at the end of the Soviet Union in a hybrid form of communist capitalism. Kind of what you saw in China, okay? But way weirder, because the last leader of the, Boris Yeltsin? The last leader of the Soviet Union was a little weirder. Brezhnev, whoever, Gorbachev, I don't remember. There were a lot of them. I think it was Gorbachev and then Yeltsin, maybe. So anyway, the Soviet Union experiments with this hybrid form of communist capitalism. And then, for various reasons, the Prague Spring in '89, the fall of the Berlin Wall, etc., communism falls in 92, okay? Right around then, 91, 92. When communism falls, you have to understand, Russia was the primary control center for communism, but there were other, like, satellite states behind the Iron Curtain, like Tito's Yugoslavia. That breaks up, and that's where you get Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia, Kosovo. That's all comes out of there. 2 other countries as well. And then, maybe Montenegro? I don't know. And then you have, like, the fall of some other Iron Curtain countries as well. We won't get into the details, Ukraine being one of them. Turkmenistan, that's Turkmenistan. You ever want to find out, the only vestiges of the Soviet Union that are left are in Turkmenistan. But anyway, in Russia, pulling it back to Russia, Russia's like the center of the communist world, all right? And what you also have to understand is that there were two visions of communism in the 1920s, okay? There was Lenin's vision through Trotsky, okay? Those were called the white communists. It's not skin color, it's just pieces on a chessboard like white and red. I don't know why they did it this way, that's just what it was. Okay, so Trotsky, Lenin's first, okay, and then Trotsky. Now, it's very important to understand what this means, okay? To be a Trotskyite or a Leninist, that means you're a communist who favors international world revolution, okay? It's a distinct form of communism where you believe that all of the countries of the world should join together, all of them, to facilitate international revolution. That's Lenin Trotskyism. That in America is called Lovestonite. If you're an anti-Stalin communist, okay, in the 20s, or a pro-Lenin, pro-Trotskyist, Trotsky communist, you are called a Lovestonite in America. This becomes relevant for other reasons because you end up with a faction of communism who gets mad because of what happens next. Stalinism is a completely different form of communism. Stalinism believes in isolationism to strengthen the emergence of communism in Russia. It does not believe, and in fact opposes, international world revolution, a la Trotsky and Lenin. It thinks that's a waste of resources. Its primary goal is dictatorial control of Russia. That's Stalinism. Stalinism wins the Third Russian Civil War, if you want to call it that. There's like so the Bolsheviks overthrow the Tsars and in like the 19 teens. And then there's another civil war in Russia in the 20s. Between the Stalin faction and the Trotsky faction after Lenin dies. Okay? And Stalin wins. Trotsky gets exiled to Mexico, where he's eventually killed with an ice pick. That guy goes back to the Soviet Union, gets the Hero of the Soviet medal, etc., etc., etc. The point for our purposes, though, is that what you must understand about the form of communism that emerged and why the West could work with it, okay, especially when fighting the Third Reich, was that that form of communism was just dedicated to enslaving the Russian people. Now, you might think it's a little counterintuitive, like, I thought that's what America was fighting in the 50s. No. America's primary concern was the rise of international communism, not communism in Russia. All right, domino theory didn't come about until like China started expanding in Southeast Asia in the 50s. Originally, America liked that Stalin was isolating communism to Russia. The problem was, after World War II, Stalin became expansionist in Iran, in Eastern Europe, etc., etc., etc. That became a problem. And then he went from Uncle Joe to the enemy. Now, what's the point of this, though? The point is that Stalin's system that he built over like 50 years, however long he lived, okay, and handed off. He died of a stroke eventually. And they were so scared of him, they wouldn't go in to check, so he just died alone in a bedroom and was left there until someone had the stones to go in and check on him. Stalin's system, you got to read Arthur Kessler's Darkness at Noon to understand what system Stalin set up and therefore understand what the SVR and KGB are and therefore understand Putin. Stalin set up a system of dictatorial control within Russia. And you see a little bit of it with party purges, which is different than like 5-year plans. Okay, the 5-year plans were agricultural policies, like that's centralized and caused a lot of problems, but like Russian production onto like big farms. Okay, it was bad. It killed a lot of people, decimated Russian production. It just was not a good idea. The steel industry is an excellent study in why 5-year plans just were terrible and why that type of managed economy will never work. But anyway, the other thing Stalin did politically was set up through purges, like ultimate fealty to the dictator. That was his system of government. And I mean it. Like, he would just purge his allies. You think Saddam Hussein's purge of the Ba'athist Party was brutal on live TV? Did you don't know Stalin? Stalin had the secret police. Stalin had prisons. Stalin had summary executions. Stalin had ultimate one-man control over the entire system. And he set up this sort of patronage system where he would reward people who were loyal to him with high-ranking positions in the Communist Party. All right, that's the foundation. Now, think about what Perestroika did. You have this Stalinist dictator system, and then you invite in oligarchs, okay, to create capitalist businesses in the late 80s. And then immediately the Soviet Union falls. So you're left with the remnants of Stalin's secret police and then a bunch of oligarchs who run the dairy industry, who run the coal industry, who run the oil industry. You want to know some of their names, by the way? Roman Abramovich, Andrei Blok, B-L-O-K-H, Boris Jordan. Funny, they all run, they're all investors, I think, in the American, or they were at one point, cannabis company Curaleaf. That's a little weird. I don't know nothing about nothing. Anyway, so, looking a little bit forward, you have all these oligarchs who, with the blessing of Stalinist, dictators, emerged in the Soviet Union. And then there's a battle in the 1990s between these oligarchs and the KGB, which is just the SVR, Stalin's secret police, okay, rebranded. Who do you think won that battle? Well, we can look to two very specific things. The apartment bombings that were blamed on Chechen separatists in Moscow in 1999 or 2000, and then the theater siege in Moscow by the Chechen separatists. Now, you want to know something fascinating? Now, two things are fascinating. One, have you ever looked into that theater siege? You should look into it. That is the origin of the civilian-facing Russian chemical weapons program. And you know what they used? Fentanyl. Aerosolized fentanyl. And they killed people. A bunch of Chechen separatists stormed a theater in Moscow, probably with Putin's blessing, and took hostages. Do you know what Putin did? He flooded the theater with aerosolized carafentanil, which is 100 times stronger than fentanyl. It might have been a fentanyl analog that they created, I don't remember, but it was strong. They pumped it in to the theater, and their plan was to incapacitate. They were really testing the biological weapon, the chemical weapon. The plan was to incapacitate the bombers, because they had male separatists with guns, and then they had female bombers with vests on, and they had hair trigger. It was like a type of detonator where if your thumb pulls off, it will go. So the women who were in the theater, and they just had them sat among the crowd. So the plan was to incapacitate the separatists, and so everyone would just kind of collapse in place, and hopefully the bombs wouldn't go off. And then the Russian secret police, the military police, who are a very high level tactical unit that's very secretive, would storm the building. They're the unit that goes in and fights the Chechen rebels. When this unit of the Russian police, it's probably the military, is the most battle hardened unit possible. They're the people that go in when they're fighting Chechen separatists. Their plan was to storm the theater and then just take all the hostages out after like easily eliminating the terrorists. Okay, well, this was not a great plan by President Putin, because what do you think happened to the people that were sitting closest to the vent when they started breathing in aerosolized carafentanil? They died from respiratory depression, because your body forgets how to breathe when you have that much carafentanil or that much fentanyl analog in you. Your muscles, your brain can't tell your lung to breathe. What you do normally, like without thinking, you can't even do while thinking. Your body just shuts down. So a bunch of civilians die, and then the male separatists don't even get knocked out. They end up alive in the hallways. So they start shooting it out with the Russian secret police, who end up like killing all of them. But a lot of hostages died. You can watch documentaries on it. It was terrible. The point is, though, politically, what that did was allow Putin, who was not the president at the time, he was the leader of the secret police. Putin emerged as a political contender as a result of that. He was the largest beneficiary of that. He used this, the Chechen separatists are like a region of Russia that is very opposed to control by Moscow. It's a religious thing. I think they're Muslim, and Moscow is very hostile to them, okay? And Putin used this to gain power politically. But you must understand, Russia, after the Soviet Union fell, was and is a constitutional democracy. It has a Duma, a parliament, and then it has a president. All right, from 2001 to 2008, Putin used like KGB tactics to get the oligarchs in line, all right? Like, they weren't going to run the country like it was in the 90s. He was going to run it, and they were going to work for him. And he would like threaten them. He would emasculate them on live TV. In Russian culture, the worst thing that can happen to a man is to be emasculated like by another man. It's just like this grave affront to your dignity. I've never been to Russia. I don't really know what's going on over there, but it's like a very big deal. So Putin would humiliate these oligarchs on TV from like 2001 to 2008. Then, once he got them all in line, he struck. He went to the Duma, and there was a series of parliamentary reforms in 2008 that resulted in Putin centralizing control and becoming president for life. Therein, changing Russia from a parliamentary democracy to a Stalinist dictatorship. You get it? That was the moment. Now, how do you think the oligarchs felt about that? Do you think maybe they were a little pissed off? Do you think maybe some of them went to the then U.S. ambassador in Moscow, who was named Bill Burns? That name might ring a bell because he went on to become head of the CIA. Do you think maybe they went to Mr. Bill Burns and were like, hey, this guy Putin screwed us. I think we should use closer economic ties between the West and Russian oligarchs to create a soft power coup and overthrow Putin because he screwed us. And do you think maybe the U.S. intelligence community was like, that's a great idea. Let's bring you all over. Let's set you up with some companies. We'll get you thriving here. You just work with your oligarchs. Like, maybe we'll have some of you like still in Russia. And like when the time is right, you know, make sure that Putin falls. You think maybe, well, yeah, there's a diplomatic cable that shows that. And you think maybe Boris Jordan, that very same, was the person who went to Bill Burns in 2008 and said that? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know nothing about nothing. Who are all of you? So anyway, my point is, sometimes you just got to look a little bit beneath the surface to see what's going on here and understand what Putin is and how he thinks and what he's trying to set up. And conversely, who America is working with and who Ukraine is working with to take Putin out. And in turn, why these wars are so often clandestine. Because you can't fight a war directly when you're hanging on by a thread. It's often said that being a ruler or a leader is like living with the sword of Damocles over your head. Shout out Glam Suze. She likes that saying. But the point is, it's like living with the sword of Damocles over your head. Okay, you think it's a good idea to openly, as Putin, claim the killing of Senator Lindsey Graham? No. But do you think it benefits Putin politically to do that by accomplishing a number of his objectives with plausible deniability? And even better if Iran will take credit for it? Hell yeah. And remember, his main goal is chaos. He wants people to have their resources scattered and focused elsewhere so that he can consolidate power and continue to put military pressure on Ukraine so he can capture more territory and open a new front from Belarus in the north. All right? He's an expansionist. Think about it. He's trying to get Transnistria, it's a separatist region of Moldova on Ukraine's western border. He's trying to reestablish the Soviet doctrine of the Iron Curtain in Eastern Europe. Why do you think NATO's freaking out? Remember, Russia has an exclave oblast, not a Penne oblast or a Penne exclave. They have an exclave oblast. They have a piece of land, which used to be called Königsberg. It's now Kaliningrad, which is surrounded by three sides with countries that are not Russia, and then on one side by water. And the only way Russia can access that is through a gap near like Poland. All right, that's what's really going on. Originally, I think the deal was going to be there was going to be a grand bargain where Russia was going to get parts of Ukraine, and then America was going to get what it wanted in Iran. But Iran was like, no. Because remember, Iran, over the past 100 years, has been subject to imperialism. People don't realize that the reason Kuwait exists, Kuwait used to be part of Iran. Britain just took Kuwait and created it. They just took the territory from Iran, carved it out, and made it so they could export oil back in the day. That's why Kuwait exists. Same with Bahrain. They forced the Shah to give over Bahrain for like the deal where the Americans got Manhattan from the Native Americans for like $26. It was a similar deal. The whole reason this conflict exists, by the way, is because the British in the late 1800s, they went into Iran, and they were the first empire to really actually get control, and they didn't do it through military means. They did it kind of politically and economically, and they built up a bunch of oil resources with the Iranian people's money. And then they got a friendly Shah to give them an 84% split. So the British got 84% of Iranian oil revenue from 1890 through 19 whatever. And the Iranians got 16% of their own oil revenue, built with their own money, resourced from the ground with their own labor. They had to give 84% of it to the British. It's actually why the Iranian parliament exists. If you've ever wanted to learn about the government of Iran, they have the supreme leader who runs the Supreme National Council, which is in charge of the IRGC. They protect the revolution. And then they also have a parliament, but it's a devolved parliament in the sense that to run for the parliament, you have to go through the Guardian Council, which is separate from the Supreme National Council. The Guardian Council has 3 members, 2 of which are directly appointed by the Supreme Leader. So you can only run for parliament, and they rejected 94% of candidates in the last 2024 election. You can only run for parliament to begin with the Supreme Leader's permission. But that's not relevant for our purposes. The reason the parliament exists, and the reason Iran is the world's only democratic theocracy or theocratic democracy, is because in 1907, the Iranian people were mad about the British and taking that 84-16 oil split. So they wanted to create a parliament to vote in a law that would overturn the contract. The British were like, you can't have a parliament. So the Iranian people created it out of spite towards the British in 1907, 1908. Now, it doesn't have a lot of power, and it's very controlled nowadays, but it's a vestige of anti-British imperialism. Then you get to World War I and World War II, you're going to find that Iran was carved up by the Soviets, by the British, by the Americans. And by 45 into like 53, the Americans moved and tried to take over Iran. And that's where the Shah being installed in the coup of 53 came from. And from like 53 to 79, I mean, America may as well have been running the country of Iran. Our biggest CIA base was in Tehran. We ran East Asian operations out of Iran. That's what the CIA did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So the story you don't know is that what happened in 77, 78 was the Shah of Iran. He was facing like domestic unrest going back to like 1975. He was kind of dumb. Iran has a very specific system of grocery stores. You wouldn't think grocery stores would be big into this, but it really is important. In 75, the Shah tried to reform how like produce flowed from farms in Iran to grocery stores. He tried to regulate it. That was not a good idea. It's like a hyper-local thing. It just was a bad idea. And it caused like a very serious agricultural depression. So people were starving. By 78, you had an exiled imam named Ayatollah Khomeini, okay, the first Khomeini, okay, who's different from Khamenei, okay. Khomeini was exiled, but he had a man, like a second in command in Iran, who was like a professor or a media personality, I forget. In 78, the US-backed Shah killed that guy. His police force killed him. I forget if they arrested him and killed him, or if he brought him to his palace and killed him. I don't remember. And as a result of that, the Iranian people from 1978 to 1979 overthrew their government in a revolution. Now, what you must understand is in Iran, throughout the whole time there was the Shah, there was also the religious establishment. When Ayatollah Khomeini returned to Iran after the Iranian Revolution in 79, what that basically was like a formalization of the religious order in Iran, the Shia religious power structure, into law, into constitutional law, okay, through revolution. The other consequence was, and what you don't know about the Iranian hostage crisis, is those were students that took over the embassy, but the people in the embassy were not civilians. That was a CIA base. And so what happened was, and my cite to this is Professor Roy Casagrande, who's an expert on Iran. What happened was the students who took over the Iranian, the American consulate, the American embassy in Tehran in 79, didn't just take hostages. They got there as the employees were shredding documents. And so the students, the college students and the IRGC and all them were like, wait a minute, what if it was rudimentary shredding? What if we went over to the local like schools, like the middle schools, the high schools, and gave them all these documents that are shredded up? What they like puzzles, you know what I'm saying? Like, so what if we just gave them these documents that are probably very, very important, and had them reconstruct them? Oh, students do love puzzles. It's really true. Well, wouldn't you know it? All those files were indeed reconstructed by the Iranian students, the middle school and high school students. And you're not going to believe this, but it's 100% true. The Iranians compiled all of our documents on operations, active operations in China, okay, in Vietnam, in Laos, in Cambodia, all throughout Asia. What did they do with them? There was no internet back then. There was an intranet, no internet. They photocopied them and sent them to every country in the world. Now, Mike Wallace wasn't allowed to talk about this on CBS, but you know what really happened? Do you know how long it took to rebuild the CIA's networks in Asia after that? Do you know how many people died because of that? You think WikiLeaks harmed American national security? The fall of Tehran set the CIA back in Asia 30 years. They lost everybody overnight. Everybody died. Every source died. Every one of them. They couldn't get any of them out either. So, with that context in mind, now you understand a little bit about what the Iranian government represents in terms of the shift in geopolitical power in 79. Now you also understand why it was a bad decision to go to war with Iran and lose. Because Iran has been waiting for legitimacy, military legitimacy, for like 50 years. They're already an axis of resistance to imperialism by their very nature. They exist because of what the British did in the Middle East in the 19th and 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century. They've been waiting for this. The only thing they were scared of was that America only lost in Vietnam because it was Vietnam. And what hashtag French colonialism calls Vietnam, but we're not going down that route. But my point with that is that I think the conventional wisdom in Iran between like 2001 and 2026 was America couldn't win in Vietnam because it was a jungle. Because the Viet Cong were too good. It turns out, though, that conventional wisdom, sorry for the frame drop, it's the software I use, that conventional wisdom was wrong. And this war, all it did was teach the world and the Iranians that they didn't need to fear American military aggression, and they could simply withstand it. And by doing that, they fulfilled what they've been waiting, 50 years to do, which is prove that imperialism doesn't work in the Middle East. Now, a lot of people say Iran has been a consistent empire for 2,000 years. Yeah, kind of. But that dynasty, in reality, kind of fell in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It did reemerge with the American-backed Shah, but would you really call that Shah the continuation of the great Persian Empire? Really? No. I would say that Iran has continuity of religious and historical and cultural traditions that go back to when the tribes of the Persian plateau were consolidated. They do. But the part people don't understand about this is that Iran was conquered. It was. For like 75 years. And its sort of hardened resistance to, and its ability to win, is very much designed from the ground up. Its institutions are built to resist imperialism. Now, that's also why I say the war is short-sighted, because if you really understand what the government of Iran is, attacking them was a bad idea. It was better to leave them in that paralyzed state of fear of what could be than attack them and have them no longer fear it, because that's why they're asserting themselves so aggressively in the Strait of Hormuz right now. America was better off, really, with the old Ayatollah Khomeini in charge. Not the first Ayatollah, the second one. We really were better off. He was very conservative, and I mean that literally and figuratively. He was politically conservative, and he didn't take risks at all. This new Iran, yeah, call it regime change if you want, but call it regime change towards a more hardened IRGC position. They don't care at all dude, they'll hit you anytime and then say, do you want more? And a lot of people think that it's Iran that doesn't want Israel involved. No, it's Israel that doesn't want Iran hitting them. You see Israel bombing in Beirut anymore? Nope. It's psychological torture to have Khorram Sharhars fired at you every hour on the hour for months on end. You can't sleep. It was blacked out in most of the Western media, the psychological impact of Iran firing those missiles at Israel. But, yeah. I don't know why we keep doing this. Just bring this to conclusion. One, the person with the single biggest motive to murder Lindsey Graham would be President Putin. Two, the people with the biggest motive to claim it would be Iran. Okay? Three, how this all plays out over the next 6 hours, I don't know. Four, here's a video from Bushehr, Iran, last night of the city just getting lit up. Just so you understand, this footage is uploaded in slow-mo from the source, so I didn't reduce the speed. This is how it was uploaded by the source. What you're looking at is anti-aircraft fire. You see all those individual dots? That's anti-aircraft fire. You're looking at probably 50 shells of AA fire. Now another 50. Okay, now another 50. That's just and then you're looking at bombs falling through the anti-aircraft fire. So they're not interceptors. You're looking at Bushehr, which is a city in Iran. Though that was the anti-aircraft fire, which means these were probably dropped from jets. And then you're looking at strikes on the city. And the reason I know that is I can see the anti-aircraft fire. That's the initial noise you're hearing. It fires very fast, and then you're seeing it fail to hit the jets who drop their payloads. They hit here, and then here, and then here. You hear the explosion from the bomb, and then the anti-aircraft fire stops because the bombs finish their run. So that's pretty incredible footage. I didn't actually see the anti-aircraft fire at first. But yeah, my name's Grant Smith Ellis. I went a little over how long I wanted to go, but I'm pleased to be able to inform you all about the developments if it helps you understand what's going on, which is important. Now, I'm going to take you to Durud, which is in Loristan province in Iran. And this morning, one of the IRGC missiles fell short and landed in Iran. 20 gazillion bonus points for TA Sahara for using towel emojis. Excellent job. So this is Iran's own missile falling short and landing in Iran. Okay, now I'm going to take you to an update from Al Arabia, translated by Towel into English, and we'll get you this update. I believe this is from Jordan. It might be from Iran.
بيانات أشارت إلى هذه المعادلة رولا التي ذكرتيها.
Oh, this is an analysis of what might happen today. This is from Tehran 2 hours ago.
وهي تلك المتعلقة بأن طهران ستوسع مساحة اعتداءاتها أو استهدافاتها للقواعد الأمريكية في حال واصلت الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية من عدوانها على الأراضي الإيرانية. ولكن من المرتقب والجميع يتوقع أن يكون هناك بيان إما من الحرس أو ربما تحديدا من مقر خاتم الأنبياء ليعلن بشكل واضح وصريح انتهاء العمليات الإيرانية في ردها استهدافاتها على الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. لماذا يجري هذا التأكيد أورولا؟ وهذا ما يترقبه الشارع بشكل خاص، على اعتبار أن التصريحات الإيرانية السابقة كانت تشير إلى سقف الرد الإيراني سيوازي ما جاء من استهدافات أمريكية، تلك التي طاولت البنى التحتية في الداخل الإيراني خلال الأيام الثلاث الماضية وآخرها فجر اليوم. والآن لم يجري تأكيد إيراني على أن كانت هناك استهدافات إيرانية لإسرائيل كما توعد أمين المجلس الأعلى للأمن القومي الإيراني محمد باقر ذو القدر، ولا ما يتعلق بالبنى التحتية على أي صعيد. وبالتالي قد يكون هناك احتمالية لضربات جديدة خلال الساعات القادمة، وربما قد يكون هناك إعلان مرتقب لنهاية الرد الإيراني. لماذا التوقع للخيار الثاني؟ هناك احتمالية أيضا على اعتبار أن هناك وساطات كما يبدو لا تزال حاضرة، وأبرزها هو الاتصال الهاتفي الذي جرى ما بين وزير الخارجية الباكستاني ونظيره الإيراني الذي أعلنت عنه وكالة أنباء تسنيم، وهو جرى التأكيد باكستانيا بأن لابد أن يكون هناك التزام بالخيار الدبلوماسي ومواصلة الحوار وفقا لما جاء في مذكرة التفاهم، ولا بد أن يتم من كلا الطرفين ضبط النفس أمريكيا وإيرانيا. وأيضا ربما قد تكون أن يكون تواجد عباس عراقجي في مسقط له أيضا تأثير إيجابي على المسار الدبلوماسي، وكذلك كما تعلمين هناك وفد قطري في مسقط. كل هذا ربما قد هذه المحاولات للوسطاء أن تؤثر إيجابا في خفض التصعيد ووقف الرد الإيراني إن كان على الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية أو اتساع مساحة استهدافاتها.
شكرا لك من طهران مراسل التلفزيون العربي ياسر مسعود.
Good report. Good report. So I did not know that the representative of the Supreme Leader had said that about in Parliament, had said that about striking Israel. I can see now why his that correspondent's attention is very focused today. Mine will be as well. Marjorie, it is very good to see you. How are you, my dear friend? Ema, how are you? I hope you're well. Joanna, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Lurley, my dear friend, it's so good to see you. God bless you. I'm going to take you now to the Sports City complex in Beirut, where there was a large fire earlier this morning. It is not believed to be related to any security incident. A security incident would be a missile attack, something along those. But it is not to be related to that. Now I am going to show you the town of Zawatir, Z-W-A-T-I-R, in southern Lebanon, which was subject to artillery shelling just over 2 hours ago this morning. Ah, yes. We don't see the actual shelling, but you can see the smoke rising in the distance. This is South Lebanon just over 2 hours ago. One second. Hey, I managed to use my mute button and sneeze without hurting your ears. Okay, now I'm going to take you to a report from South Lebanon where the villages of Kafar Tebnit, Kantara, Mansouri, Hadath, and Beit Yahun were hit with artillery shelling. Okay, I want to keep you abreast of developments in each of the conflict areas. Now, I'm going to show you an analysis from Dr. Hassan Ahmadian, which will give you some insight. When I watched this earlier, let me just pause. Wait a minute. When I watched this earlier, I thought it was very insightful about the Iranian mentality, not the civilian mentality, the IRGC. We hear a lot of like Western propaganda about the government of Iran, but let's learn a little bit about how they actually think. And I thought this perspective was very interesting to learn about that and get inside the heads of those who run Iran. It does have English captions, so let's take a listen now.
لا أحد يستطيع فتح المضيق دون التنسيق مع إيران. الطريق
I'll make these captions a little bigger for you by making it full screen, but I'm still here with you. I'm watching as well.
الوحيد لاستخدام المضيق هو التعاطي مع إيران وقبول إيران للمضي قدما في التنسيق وبالتالي استخدام المضيق. الذي يحدث هو مجابهة على خلفية الحرب التي فرضت على إيران، وإيران لا تريدها أن تتكرر، ولذلك تتمسك بإدارة الملاحة في مضيق هرمز. أمام ذلك الولايات المتحدة تريد أن تقول بأننا أعدنا الوضع لما قبل الحرب، أي أن إيران لم تكسب أي شيء في هذه الحرب. دعوني أقف الآن على منطق السلوك الإيراني في هرمز بشكل عام. بالنسبة لإيران لا يمكن العودة لما قبل الحرب في مضيق هرمز. مضيق هرمز قبل الحرب أصبح في خبر كان، والآن هناك وضع مستجد. السبب في ذلك هو عسكري. الولايات المتحدة استخدمت المضيق لنقل معدات كبيرة وضخمة عسكرية، رادارات وغيرها إلى المنطقة، ثم هذه كلها استخدمت ضد إيران. إيران أمام هذا الواقع تقول أن هذا المضيق إذا تركناه للولايات المتحدة سيشكل لنا تهديدا وجوديا، ولذلك سنمنع ذلك. ولذلك لا يوجد خلاف في داخل إيران أن هذا المضيق ممنوع عودته لما قبل الحرب. هذه النقطة الأولى. النقطة الثانية لها أبعاد أمنية واقتصادية. إيران تقول أن المضيق كان مؤمنا إيرانيا. إيران كانت تؤمن المضيق دون مقابل، كانت تراقب المضيق، ولذلك لم نشهد قرصنة مثلا في المضيق، لم نشهد أي حراك غير قانوني من قبل دول أو منظمات في المضيق، لأن إيران حاضرة ودورياتها تجوب السواحل وتمنع أي خرق للأمن هناك. لعقود إيران كانت تقوم بذلك دون مقابل، وكانت تحاول أن تكون الطرف الذي يؤمن المضيق. طبعا عمان ليس لها دور كبير، لم يكن تقليديا لها دور كبير في المضيق. طبعا هي الدولة الساحلية الأخرى لها الحق في أن يكون لها دور بديل، لكن تقليديا إيران هي الطرف الذي كان يؤمن المضيق. الإيرانيون يقولون لماذا نؤمن هذا المضيق دون مقابل لهذه الدول التي اعتدت علينا أو أسهمت في الاعتداء علينا كما في السابق؟ أساسا لماذا كنا نؤمن لهم المضيق؟ إذا كانوا يريدون المرور دون التنسيق معنا لماذا نؤمن لهم؟ نحن لدينا خطوط نحدد لهم يستطيعون المرور فيها، ونراقب ما يحملون من تجارة. لكن إذا كانوا يريدون نقل معدات ستستخدم ضد إيران، لماذا تؤمن لهم إيران ذلك؟ ثم لماذا تؤمن ذلك دون مقابل؟ هناك خدمات أمنية تقدم. إيران تؤمن هذا المضيق. عمان قد تشترك في البروتوكول القادم مع إيران في تأمين المضيق. لماذا تقدم هاتين الدولتين بالمجان للولايات المتحدة وللأطراف الأخرى خدمات مجانية؟ هذه دول اعتدت على إيران، لماذا تقدم إيران لهم بالمجان خدمات أمنية؟ وبالتالي هناك رابط بين الأمن والاقتصاد تركز عليه إيران، في أن الخدمات ل60 يوم حسب المذكرة ستكون بالمجان، تقدمها إيران، تتقبلها، تؤمن المضيق دون مقابل للمرور الآمن التجاري لمستوى قبل الحرب. لكن بعد ذلك سيكون هناك بروتوكول إيراني عماني، وهناك مفاوضات بين إيران وعمان للوصول لهذا البروتوكول، وبالتالي تأمين الملاحة وفقا له. إيران واضحة في رؤيتها ولن تتنازل عن هذه الرؤية بالنسبة للمضيق كما أفهمه، وبالتالي هي مصرة على تطبيق رؤيتها وعلى تطبيق مذكرة التفاهم التي وقعتها مع الولايات المتحدة. لكن دعونا لا نذهب بعيدا عن الواقع. الولايات المتحدة قد تذهب باتجاه التصعيد. الجولة المقبلة التي أراها آتية لا محالة بين إيران وإسرائيل قد تقترب في موعدها نتيجة الوضع الذي استجد بعد توقيع مذكرة التفاهم في المضيق. لكن هل يعني ذلك أن إيران ستغير من سياستها لكي لا تواجه إسرائيل بدعم الولايات المتحدة؟ طبعا لا. معنى ذلك أن تترك الولايات المتحدة أن تأتي بمعدات لتسعف إسرائيل في حربها القادمة في الجولة القادمة ضد إيران، وبالتالي يستخدم المضيق كما تريد الولايات المتحدة وإسرائيل. بالتالي حتى لو حدث تصعيد وعدنا لمواجهة وجولة مقبلة عسكرية، تقديري أن مرد الأمور للترتيبات بالتنسيق مع إيران، لأن إيران اليوم متمسكة ومتماسكة داخليا أمام ما تقول الولايات المتحدة وإسرائيل. بالتالي لا يستطيع هذين الطرفين أن يمليان على إيران ما لا تريده. هي حاربوها 39 يوم بقدرات هائلة بالمناسبة، أدموها وأزعجوها وقتلوا الكثير فيها، اغتالوا قياداتها، ضربوا الكثير من قدراتها العسكرية. تقدير الاستخبارات الأمريكية تقول بأن 90% من قدرات إيران الصاروخية ما زالت موجودة، 70% من قدراتها في الإطلاق ما زالت على الأرض بعد 39 يوم. ولكم أن تتخيلوا في ظل الثلاثة أشهر تقريبا التي مضت بعد الحرب كم أعدت إيران لهم من قوة في الداخل للمواجهة المقبلة، وكلما مضى الأمر ستستعد إيران أكثر. وبالتالي نحن إذا موازنة تصب في مصلحة إيران، طبعا تستطيع الولايات المتحدة الضغط على إيران. اليوم ألغيت بعضا من العقوبات النفطية التي كانت ألغيت عن إيران، يعني أعيد فرضها على إيران. ما الذي ستقوم به إيران؟ سوف توقف تنفيذ مذكرة التفاهم من جانبها، أي يعود المضيق لما قبل. بالتالي هناك شد ودفع بين إيران والولايات المتحدة، ولأن لإيران اليد العليا تقديري أنه في النهاية على الولايات المتحدة أن تقبل بالواقع الذي أتى نتيجة فرضها حربا غير عقلانية على إيران بالتنسيق مع إسرائيل وانجرارا خلف إسرائيل. بذلك أترككم حتى فيديو آخر.
Okay, so that was probably the closest you're going to get. There were English captions, by the way, on that video. That's probably the closest you're going to get to the Iranian perspective. A lot of it you've heard me summarize before, but it is certainly interesting. I want to take you quickly to Qatar, because this does play into the analysis here. Qatar's former Amir passed away today, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. He was the father Amir of Qatar. He passed away at the age of 74 and ruled the country for 18 years. So my colleague Ali Hashim posted this video report from Al Jazeera about the passing of the ruler, the former ruler of the state of Qatar, and we will take a listen to this 3-minute video now. This does play in, of course, to the political reality on the ground, both in Qatar and in Iran and in Washington, as Qatar was struck by an Iranian missile as they were in mourning for a prominent founding political figure. So let's take a listen. I don't actually know what a father emir is, so let's take a listen.
The father emir, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, was the man who took a small peninsula and turned it into one of the most influential nations on earth. Born in Doha in 1952, he was educated at Britain's Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, before rising through the ranks of Qatar's armed forces. Named heir apparent in 1977, he spent nearly 2 decades running the country's day-to-day affairs before taking power from his father in a bloodless transition in 1995. What followed was one of the most remarkable transformations in modern...
Picking up where we left off.
...offshore gas reserve. Within a decade, Qatar became the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas. Under his rule, the economy grew more than 20-fold. A quiet Gulf state became a global financial power. But he understood that wealth alone does not build a nation. Within months of taking power, Sheikh Hamad launched the Qatar Foundation, bringing the world's leading universities to Doha. He scrapped media censorship, abolished the Ministry of Information, and in 1996 launched a television channel that would change the Arab world forever, Al Jazeera. For the first time, Arab audiences heard voices their governments didn't want them to hear, the opinion and the other opinion. As Qatar's international profile grew, so did its diplomatic ambitions. Under Sheikh Hamad's leadership, the country established itself as a trusted mediator, helping to facilitate dialogue and negotiations in conflicts across the Middle East and beyond, a role that would become a defining feature of its foreign policy. When popular uprisings swept parts of the Arab world, Qatar adopted an active regional role through diplomacy, humanitarian support, and extensive media coverage. In Libya, it joined the international coalition enforcing the UN-mandated no-fly zone. Its approach attracted both praise and criticism, but reflected Sheikh Hamad's belief that Qatar should play an active role in Middle East affairs. And no people were closer to his heart than the Palestinians. In 2012, he crossed into Gaza, the first head of state to break the isolation of the Israeli blockade. He brought with him $400 million for hospitals, homes, and roads, and a message the world could not miss: Gaza is not alone. In 2010, he delivered what many thought impossible: the right to host the FIFA World Cup, the first Arab and Muslim nation to do so. 12 years later, in 2022, that vision became reality when Qatar successfully staged the tournament, bringing the world's biggest sporting event to the Middle East for the first time. But perhaps Sheikh Hamad's most remarkable act came in 2013 when he did what Arab leaders rarely do. He gave up power, voluntarily. At just 61, he handed the reins to his son, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, telling people it was time for a new generation to lead. No crisis, no pressure, a peaceful, deliberate transfer of power, almost without precedent in the region's modern history. It earned him the title by which he would be known for the rest of his life: the Father Emir. Even after stepping down, Sheikh Hamad remained a
All right, that's it. That's it. Understanding Towel Order number 1. I name the honorable member for Two-Gun Cohen. Now, I don't know what ideological purview or persuasion you may believe in, but gratuitously, vacuously, and generously denigrating, using personalities, every person in the chat is most certainly fallacious, a violation of the rules of the House, and also sufficient grounds for me to name the honorable member, thus removing you from this House, not only for the remainder of this day's sitting, but permanently. Thank you very much for your understanding. There shall be no vote. The Speaker has ruled. That's what Towel Standing Order rule number 1 is all about. Hashtag Towel Standing Order rule number 1.
Respected national figure offering continuity and support during Qatar's continued development, while allowing the new leadership to chart its own course. Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani leaves behind a nation transformed, richer, louder, and prouder than the one he inherited. A country that learned under his rule to think beyond its borders. The father of modern Qatar, and in many ways, the architect of its rise to the global stage.
Good morning, Jen FL. Thank you so much as well to the I'm the problem, it's me. Thank you for that wonderful, what was that emoji? That was a great one. A stay hydrated. It was a turtle drinking a little water bottle. And that was great. But yes, hold on. I want to name the honorable member. What was the Two-Gun Cohen? I've named you, and look at that. Look at that. You're gone. Oh, look at that. He's gone. Or she's gone. They're gone. Goodbye. I've named you permanently. Very rarely do I invoke the Chamber's permanent removal. What are they called? Sections of the rule. I created the rule, okay? Nonetheless, when I invoke it, I swingeth my towel hammer, and then they are gone. Alright, so in any event, thank you all very much. And just as a reminder, I will have Nightbot, who everyone loves, of course, even water under the fridge, restate the rules. Here we go. The rules: no slurs, no being discriminatory, no being derogatory, no personalities, show compassion, no sea lioning, no trolling. Also, Towel is Chat Mom Lynn, and we love penguins and goats. Hashtag free the goats. And we love Kofi. Hi, Kofi. Did you know Kofi's a dog? Sometimes I just talk to him. He knows the man on the TV. He knows me. How you doing, Kofi? Are you behaving today? Is Bunny Towel Mom... Are you keeping the horses away from Bunny Towel Mom? Did they try to attack her? Did you fend them off? You know, some of the horsies are nice, Kofi, but on the whole, I get it. They're giant animals, and you gotta protect her. It's totally okay. I bet Bo approves. Yeah, Kofi does not like horses. He thinks they're a threat, which, I mean, they're giant, so I understand. You have to protect... Kofi is busy using the Amazon app to order various doggy bones. Also, I want to yell a little bit about this, what I think is a fake poly market. They really should not, even if it's fake. I was very displeased to see that it's even possible on the app to predict who might, be the next target of Iran or Russia. There was also a report in the Iranian media that a high-level IRGC naval commander was killed in the overnight strikes. Now, as I reported to you as well, based on the shipping data, there is only one ship, ladies and gentlemen, the BURG Star, okay, the Berg Star. It's a Chinese oil tanker that moved through the northern route of the Strait of Hormuz today with IRGC permission. That was the only one I saw. There may have been more since then, but that was the only one I saw. Now, I'll show you some footage from Bahrain about 10 hours ago when Iran fired missiles at Bahrain, and Bahrain fired up some interceptors. That's a pretty quick interceptor. I would say that's probably a Patriot interceptor. The Patriot interceptors goes really, really fast. Now this is the scene from Kafir Tabit in southern Lebanon just 4 hours ago, where Israeli bombing continues. No attacks in Israel at all, though. Perhaps surprisingly, maybe they're gearing up for something. Here's more footage from Bushehr, Iran, overnight. I think I showed this picture already. Now I'm going to show you what looks like, I think this was a fire. I'm not sure if it was a wildfire or if it was a protest fire. This is a part of Lebanon. I think this was actually a protest fire in Jalul land, which reached New Road. Now I'm going to take you to an update from Jordan, which was hit with 3 missiles in the last few hours, I'd say 8 hours, by Iran. Let's find out what happened in Jordan with English captions translated by yours truly, Little Towel. It's from Arabic, Saudi Arabic to English. It will be spoken in Arabic, and you can read the English captions right above Towel News Network.
ديما الأردن أدان الهجمات الإيرانية التي استهدفت كل من قطر والكويت وعمان والإمارات والبحرين، وقال أن هذه الاستهدافات تعد تصعيدا خطيرا وانتهاكا لسيادة الدول وتهديدا لأمنها واستقرارها، وأكدت أنها تتضامن بشكل مطلق مع كل ما تتخذه هذه الدول من أجل الحفاظ على أمنها وسيادتها. الأردن أيضا كان من بين الدول التي تعرضت لهجمات إيرانية فجر هذا اليوم. أعلنت القوات المسلحة أنه تم استهداف الأردن ب3 صواريخ. هذه الصواريخ سقطت على الأراضي الأردنية وأحدثت عددا من الأضرار المادية الطفيفة كما ذكر البيان الصادر عن الجيش الأردني. قامت فرق سلاح الهندسة الملكي بالتعامل مع هذه الصواريخ وفق الإجراءات الفنية المعتمدة، وقامت أيضا بفحص المنطقة والتأكد من سلامة الاقتراب من هذه المواقع. نشير إلى أن اللافت في البيان الذي صدر اليوم أنه تم الإعلان عن سقوط صواريخ بشكل مباشر على الأراضي الأردنية، ليس اعتراض هذه الصواريخ وإفشال وصولها كما حدث أول أمس عندما استهدف الأردن ب8 صواريخ من إيران. هذه الصواريخ التي كانت قد أعلنت إيران أنها استهدفت قاعدة في قاعدة الأمير حسن بن طلال، هذه القاعدة التي تقع شرقي البلاد تحديدا في مدينة المفرق، تبعد عن عمان حوالي 100 كيلومتر. وهذه القاعدة كانت أيضا تستهدف في خلال فترة الحرب الماضية، حرب 40 يوما. أيضا كانت القوات المسلحة في البيان الصادر اليوم جددت تأكيدها على أنها لن تسمح لأن تكون أراضيها منطلقا لعمليات عسكرية بين أي طرف، وتؤكد على أنها ستقوم بكل ما يلزم من أجل الحفاظ على أمنها وسيادتها وأيضا لمنع أي تهديد لمواطنيها، وتؤكد على أن كافة الوحدات والأجهزة العسكرية على أهبة الاستعداد للتعامل مع أي تهديدات أمنية محتملة، في تأكيد أيضا على أن الحلول السياسية هي الأمثل لخفض التصعيد في المنطقة، كما كانت تذكر وزارة الخارجية في بياناتها. هذه البيانات التي تدين الاعتداءات المستمرة على الدول العربية، وأيضا تؤكد على ضرورة العودة إلى خفض التصعيد من أجل منع التصعيد في المنطقة. ديما.
So that was the report from Jordan. Okay, you can see, I don't know if those were fired at Israel. They did not get to Israel. There have been attacks on the air base in Jordan as well. So it's very, very possible that that's where they were aimed. There were no warnings or alerts in Israel and no attacks on Israel as far as I can tell at all so far. Now I'll show you scenes from Doha, Qatar earlier today, which was also hit. You can see the smoke from the attempted intercepts up here. This is from Doha. Okay, so those are the scenes from Doha about 7 hours ago. Now I'm going to show you a attack 4 hours ago on Al Maghrabi Street in Gaza on a machine factory. It's water under the fridge. God bless you, my friend. We were just talking about you and how much you love Nightbot. God bless you, my dear friend. You are wonderful. We're coming to the end of Breakfast with Towel, but I imagine I will be back. This was the aftermath of a strike on a machine shop in Gaza earlier today. America also issued an alert to its citizens in Oman to shelter in place just 3 hours ago. This was a cruise missile that was downed this morning in Iran. It was fired by America but shot down. And this is the remnants of the American cruise missile that was found this morning in Karamabad County, Daraya region, Nusrat. Okay, so that looks like pictures of an American cruise missile. Hello, water under the fridge. Loves Nightbot, of course. Of course. The dearest form of expression. Water under the fridge told him he's number one. Shout out Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon. So that's the American cruise missile that was shot down. I don't know a lot about cruise missiles. Maybe some of you do. You might be able to identify whether that is an American cruise missile in parts. We will now take a look. I don't want to show the video of the shelling of the machine shop because there was someone injured in the video. Here's the confirmation from Oman's Ministry of Defense that they saved the 25 crew members off of Musandam in Oman. One crew member is, I will show you, hold on, I have some updates since we started. Okay. Let me give you Mr. President Trump on Lindsey Graham. Give me 1 second, please. I have more updates since then. Hold on. Mr. President Trump spoke. Lindsey Graham was scheduled to be on Meet the Press this morning. Mr. President Trump instead spoke. I'm going to play you just a short clip from that interview now.
Bad. And, but I have somebody that I like, but I'm not going to tell you who now because it's too soon.
All right, fair enough. We will
I never
track.
thought I'd be in this position.
Yeah.
I thought Lindsey was going to be living forever. I never thought.
I'm going to break in and tell you that Israel's next election has just been set for October 27th. Ladies and gentlemen, power may change in Israel October 27th. The Knesset has set the date. It was originally, that's the originally scheduled date. The Knesset will formally dissolve on July 17th. Several bills will come up for approval before that date, and then Israeli elections have formally been set where Benjamin Netanyahu could finally be removed from power, October 27th, 2026.
I said, Lindsay, you're going to live forever. And he was going to have a big victory. You know, he was scheduled to win by a lot. He had my support, and he was going to win by a lot. He was going to have one of his best elections ever, and now he's got
Breaking, something has just struck Kuwait. I repeat, something has just struck Kuwait.
It's terrible.
Well, I had the great honor of being able to talk to him a couple of times this week, Mr. President. And as you can imagine, we talked about a lot of foreign policy. We talked about a lot of Iran. And in honor of him, I want to still have some of those conversations. Those were the conversations he wanted to have here this morning, Mr. President.
Okay, so I want to show you what's just coming across the wires. Now, I do not live in Kuwait. Okay, so I can't tell you what part of Kuwait this is. I don't know who bombed Kuwait. I don't know why they bombed. I don't think any sirens went off, but this is the picture that has just come in. Someone has just bombed Kuwait. Now, maybe you're from Kuwait. Maybe you say, oh, I recognize that power pole, or, oh, yes, that abandoned hut on the highway in Kuwait. I've never been to Kuwait. I've never been to Iraq, or South Iraq, or Iran, so I have no idea what just got bombed. I don't know who bombed it. I don't know why they bombed it. But someone has just caused a very big explosion in Kuwait. Yes, I know, Aussie, Cheryl, and Linda. This is one of those things. I don't think the news will get this for a little bit. You kind of tend to see things on Towel News pretty quick. The problem with that, though, is since I don't live in Kuwait and I don't know anyone in Kuwait, I used to have some friends there in the chat. I can't tell you what part of Kuwait that is. I've never been to Kuwait. I don't know who just bombed Kuwait. That doesn't sound like a good thing, though. That looks like a very serious fire. Maybe someone in the chat has been to Kuwait. Maybe they'll be like, oh, yes, I recognize that. No, yeah, that's X, Y, or Z. But for me, it looks like it's near a radio tower. I can see a little radio tower right here, okay? And then I can see a very large fire right here. That's my erudite towel analysis. And then I can see kind of a little hut, and then a power line. And it's Kuwait. That's what I got for you. Someone has attacked Kuwait. Silent Dog's very erudite. That's the burning and on fire part of Kuwait. Yeah, I would say Kuwait's on fire right now. I think, you'll probably hear it on the other news channels in a few minutes. Well, the Arabic language news channels. Somebody bombed Kuwait about maybe 5 minutes ago. They've caused a very large fire. They bombed Kuwait. That was mean of them. Yeah, whatever is there, I mean, we could zoom in a little bit. Whatever was there, I mean, I just want to tell you, that's a pretty large fire. So see the radio mast? There's a radio mast, like here. So it implies that's some kind of communication facility, like there. And then this thing, I hope that's not one of our bases, because that thing does not exist. That thing, I know a fire when I see one. That's a very large fire. I mean, that is exceptionally large. I have to zoom out to actually capture the scope of it. Yeah, somebody bombed something. And unfortunately, because I'm the first network, I think, to see this, I can't tell you more about it. I'm not from Kuwait. T.A. Sarah, 77 billion bonus points because you recognize the abandoned shack. Good job, you win. Yeah, Ema, this is one of those situations, it happens from time to time, where we will see a primary source picture literally the second a strike happens, and then you kind of just have to interpolate, like while the news is catching up, what you're looking at. I can say a few things from it. Based on the perspective and how far away the man with the camera is, the fire appears to be more than 500 meters tall. More than 250 meters. Let's shrink that estimation. Also, I can't really tell how far, like, it's a little tough to tell where the fire is burning. It seems to start about here and go to over, here, maybe, somewhere in there. So that seems to be like, I don't know, 50 to 100 meters worth of land burning. And generally, you have to have something on land, on the, land to create a fire that big. And you know, I imagine since this man is there and taking that picture, if this were something that kind of happened slowly, he probably would have been like, there's a small fire. Oh, there's a medium fire. Well, now there's a really big fire. The fact that the first picture he took is the fire being that big leads me to believe someone launched a missile at Kuwait. So that's my towel analysis. But I don't have any more information for you right now, as frustrating as that may be. I don't know what hit Kuwait. I don't know who bombed Kuwait. I don't know why they bombed Kuwait. All right, we listened to Mr. President Trump. Now I'm going to show you. This is going to be loud, I think. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah, this is going to be loud. Gaza City, the Al Rais area of the Sabra neighborhood was just struck, and there is shocking footage that has just come over the wire. This was within the past 30 minutes. You absolutely are going to want to turn your headphones down. I put the warning in the chat. I'm telling you now, this is going to be very loud. I'll show you one more time. This just happened in Gaza. Oh my. I just want to show you. You can see that ordnance. Look at it. That's the bomb. That's the first one. You can see it. It's so clear. That's the first bomb. And then there was a second one. Did you see the second one? As the first one's hitting. Oh, that's terrifying. Look at that. I mean, that is some intense footage. I don't know who had that camera there. I don't know how they knew. They must have heard the plane or something, but they captured it. I mean, that's wild. The force of that. That's horrifying. That just happened maybe 30 minutes ago. Wow. Alright, now I'm going to show you what it looked like on the ground when those missiles hit. Please be aware this could also be very loud. This is that same strike, but from the ground. Oh my God. That's terrifying. There are civilians right there. What are you doing? And by the way, we can confirm that that's the same footage because look, there's the first bomb. It hits, and then there's the second one. It's the same exact footage. First bomb hits the ground, and then that's just wild. The first bomb hits, and then there's the second bomb. That's the exact footage we just watched from a different angle, off camera to the left. This Palestinian citizen is just standing there in the middle of the road with, these are eSIMs. The Palestinians have cell phones with eSIMs. And he must have known. And he just he captured it exactly. That's incredible. That is the closest in your life. Thank God that man is okay. That is the closest in your life you will ever be to a bomb dropping. Hopefully, I pray. And you only see it in a video. Oh my word. That man is no more than 150 feet to 200 feet from that explosion. He is very lucky to be alive. He's using this as a shelter, but you think that's going to protect you from shrapnel? Probably not. He is very lucky to be alive. Oh my word. Now I'm going to show you Lindsey Graham's last speech yesterday in Ukraine. Lindsey Graham passed away tragically this morning. The FBI Director Patel said he is offering the full resources of the Bureau to investigate the circumstances of Senator Graham's death.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. There's some things we can do on the technology front to build on the lethality of Ukraine to protect itself from ballistic missile attack.
Breaking news incoming about Kuwait.
If we did that, combined with creating tools to punish those countries that prop up Putin, that make money off this war, then I think we've got the best chance since I've been coming here in the last 5 years to get Putin to the peace table. We've reached...
That was his last speech. Ladies and gentlemen, I have breaking news coming out of Kuwait. I have breaking news coming out of Kuwait. Now, remember how I said I wasn't in Kuwait? Well, I'm not in Kuwait, but I know a thing or two about getting videos from Kuwait. I need to tell you that the initial report is that our HIMARS ground-based missile system has been destroyed in the past 10 minutes. We've been hit. I repeat, we've been hit. We've been hit. They took out our HIMARS. I'm not going to say it. They sneak attacked us. They took out our HIMARS. Somebody tell the president. They took them all out. They hit our HIMARS station. According to initial reports in the past 15 minutes, they took out our HIMARS in Kuwait. They took them all out. They took out the HIMARS, silent dogs. How dare they? That's a lot of HIMARS. Oh my goodness, they rocked us. We got rocked. They snuck attacked. Damn Iranians. They took out all our HIMARS. That's a lot of HIMARS. They set them all on fire. This was like 10 minutes ago. This is burning right now. You're watching footage from on the ground in Kuwait. My pleasure, Falcon. My pleasure. I'm happy to help. Yeah, this just happened like 10 minutes ago. They got our missiles. These are our special missiles. They got them. They got us, ladies and gentlemen. We weren't ready. We weren't ready. Mr. President's going to be made. They snuck attack us. It was a sneak attack. They got us. We weren't ready. I tell you, we weren't ready. They bombed our HIMARS. They bombed our missiles. They're gone. They bombed them. Somebody tell the president they got the HIMARS. Our Kuwaiti-based HIMARS have been attacked. Let me confirm this is Kuwait. I'm pretty sure it's Kuwait. We've been attacked. Our HIMARS have been attacked. Won't someone think of the HIMARS? We've been attacked. I'm telling you right now, somebody tell the president. This happened like 10 minutes ago. It's in Kuwait. Now, I'm not in Kuwait, but, you know, I know a thing or two about getting videos from Kuwait. That is a video from Kuwait. They blew up our HIMARS. Now, listen. I understand how war works, but I also understand that the Widdicey's trap of escalation. You can't just blow up our HIMARS. We gotta hit back now. That's how it works. T.A. Sarah, I don't know. I would not advise calling the White House. I'm sure his people will let him know. Alright. My opinion is this is going to be a heck of a day. I might take a lunch break in a little bit, but right now I need to keep... Right now I think Kuwait was just attacked. That's my opinion. That's my official opinion as Edward R. Murrow War Reporter Towel. Alright? It's 11:26 a.m. at the War Desk in Boston, where it's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. It's Sunday, July 12, 2026. It's 5:26 p.m. in South Africa. It's 6:26 p.m. as the sun is about to set on Tel Aviv, Israel. And it's 6:56 p.m. as the sun is about to set on Tehran, Iran. So, listen. If you thought this was just going to end, no. Iran blew up our HIMARS. They just blew them all up. Oh, Valhalla 2015, God bless you. If your name is Redacted Doing Redacted, or Donald Jackson, or Sharon, or Big Dog, or Christian MGW, you have just received the most wonderful gift possible, the gift of towel emojis from Valhalla 2015. God bless you, Valhalla. Thank you so much for your support. I'm honored to be able to help, and I'm so glad for your support of Towel Channel. So, Redacted Doing Redacted, and those of you in the chat, enjoy your ability to use your new Super Towel emojis. Now, I don't know if you know about our Super Towel emojis. This is an inopportune time. I'm going to do it anyway. Towel Chat Mom Lynn, she loves penguins. Towel Chat Mom Bunny, her dog Kofi is an emoji. When I get mad, I say that's it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Water Under the Fridge has started a membership parade, as I like to call it. So if your name is Bog Precision, David Ellis, or Tracy Angel, or Chase Your Dreams, or My Heart's Truth, you also have now unlocked the gift from the one and only defender of the Great Lakes. Water Under the Fridge prevents the Iranians from rolling their boats over Canada with logs to get to the Great Lakes and break the blockade. It's complicated, don't ask too many questions, but you have been gifted the gift of towel emojis from none other than Water Under the Fridge. So Valhalla, Water Under the Fridge, teaming up back to back. It's called a Towel Membership Parade. Enjoy your new emojis. Although this is inopportune and I will get you an update on what's going on in Kuwait, we also have sheep and goat based emojis. We like to save the sheep, we like to save the goats. Hashtag Matthew 25:31 through 46, the parable of the sheep and the goats. Now, if you follow the Karen Reed trial or the Turtle Boy case, you might know about Chloe the dog in the wig. She's in the federal doggy protection program. Try not to ask too many questions. And we also have this giant red stuffed marshmallow man, which I just think is hilarious. And then we have various other doggo-based emojis. And we also have Pete Bunny Towel. He is the the channel mascot. And then we have an emoji for Miss Rockstar's cat, Mr. Rockstar, because he's a cat. Hashtag save the animals. All right, so this, if you're just tuning in, our HIMARS have been destroyed in Kuwait, according to initial towel reports on the ground, literally like 10 minutes ago. What are you doing, Al Jazeera? Can we have an update, please? My point is, our HIMARS have been destroyed in the past 10 minutes. Iran struck. They hit us. They were like, yeah, you think you're going to be able to hit us? We'll just hit you first. And they did. They blew up our HIMARS. Those are our missiles. They're gone now. I hope our troops are okay. Mr. President probably needs to do something about this. I'm watching all of our missiles just burn up in flames. I'm a little bit concerned. Big Dog, welcome. Let's find out. I can actually tell you exactly who gifted you your membership, because if it wasn't Water Under the Fridge, then it was the one and only Valhalla 2015. So Big Dog, enjoy your towel emojis from Valhalla. I think that is a great day. Mishigama, yeah, I'm not really sure what we're going to do. I should probably keep you updated on this, because we just got attacked. Not exactly sure when this happened. Iranian media is reporting that U.S. missile sites in Kuwait were just attacked. Fars news agency says 3 ballistic missiles towards the Al Mina area of Kuwait, where American ATCAM missiles were launched. So Fars news agency 2 minutes ago reports that 3 ballistic missiles were launched towards the Al Mina area of Kuwait, and that the launch targeted American ATCAM missiles. I repeat, Iranian formal news sources confirming what you heard first on Towel News. The Iranians did a surprise ballistic missile attack on the Al Mina area of Kuwait, and they have destroyed our HIMARS. They hit our missiles, They snuck attack us. You don't understand. You were like, oh, you're going to sneak attack us? Fine. We'll just attack you. It's war now. No, we're back at war. This is not good. I need my lunch. This was supposed to be a breakfast with Towel Stream. I wasn't anticipating things popping off until the oil markets opened at 6 p.m. Iran was like, no, we're just going to bomb the HIMARS. You don't understand. Now this forces America to respond. Whether you ideologically agree with it or not, you really think Mr. President's going to be like, he just bombed Iran just bombed our troops. You must understand, HIMARS are missiles with troops who are stationed near the HIMARS. They might have just killed our soldiers. Who knows what the hell just happened? They launched 3 ballistic missiles and blew up a lot of our missiles. We've been attacked. This is not a drill. Somebody call the president. If they would sneak attack our HIMARS, then why wouldn't they sneak attack other people? This is not a good sign. This is a escalation beyond tit for tat. This is a sneak strike. They just hit. They preemptively struck. Why wouldn't they do that in Israel now? Dear God. May God protect us all. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe they've done this. Oh my God. I don't know what to say. What are they going to do next? Whoa. That's a drastic escalation. It breaks the pattern. Oh my God. They're going to get hit. I'm telling you right now, they're going to get hit. They're going to get rocked. I don't know, what, an hour less? They're going to get absolutely rocked. The president's already in a bad mood because Lindsey Graham's dead. And now you just bombed our HIMARS site, potentially killing U.S. troops? Yeah, they're going to get absolutely rocked. Dude, we must have killed a senior commander. I need to be direct with you all. I need to leave Towel Newsreader mode and just tell you what's going on. We must have killed someone very high up because there's no chance they would risk this level of escalation unless they're on a vengeance tour. They very likely just potentially, depending, I can't tell what they hit. This is like half a mile away. They potentially just hit U.S. troops. I'm telling you, you have to have troops there next to the missiles to fire them. They sit in like hardened bunkers next to the HIMARS. Don't ask me how I know. I saw a video one time. Dude, oh my God. If they killed a single soldier, I'm telling you, I know we have killed their soldiers. I understand. I'm not trying to diminish what war is, but I just need to tell you the realpolitik of it. If they killed a single U.S. soldier, they're going to get rocked. Forget what my opinion is. If they killed a single U.S. soldier, they're going to get rocked. And I can't guarantee you that no one got hurt or died in that strike based on the size of that fire. Oh my God. That's ballsy. Oh, they must be really mad. I can gauge. Listen, Iran is smart. They play the long game. Unless you make them really effing mad. We must have killed somebody very high ranking. I don't know what the hell we did last night. It must be really bad. They don't do this unless they get pissed. And I don't mean diplomatically angry. I mean you have to really upset them for them to risk escalation. That's what I'm basically saying. They play the long game. Oh, dude, they're going to get rocked. No wonder they close. Oh, listen to me. I saw this report on Tasneem earlier that from 7 p.m. local time tonight in Iran till midnight, they're going to close one of the main squares. And I was like, why? Bro, if they're going to launch an attack, it's going to be right now. Oh, shit, I should have put that together. I'm kind of dumb. If they're going to launch an attack, it's going to be right now. It's going to be during the 7 p.m. to midnight window locally in Iran. And right now it is 5:30 in South Africa, so it's 6:30. It's 7:06 in Tehran. They're going to launch right now. Mark my words. Fuck me. I'm so dumb. I should have put that together. It was such a small news report too, like the closing of a square in Tehran. But dude, they don't do that. They were telegraphing to people, don't go on the streets. Oh no. If they're going to launch, they're going to do it right now. Hello, Cheryl the Aussie. Welcome. God bless you. Yeah, Penny, how are you, my friend? Hello, Ithiamat again. Yeah, Iranians always give a heads up before they strike. Yeah, not today, Ithiamat. Not today. They struck the HIMARS. You can't give a heads up if you're going to take out something that can be protected. They struck us without... Watch. Give it an hour. Less. Watch. Just watch it happen. Hold, please. Hold, please. Hold, please. Hold, please. I think that's the same footage, just higher quality. Hold, please. Hold, please. Okay, Kuwait has been hit. I repeat, I can confirm it from 4 different sources. It is on the border with Iraq. Kuwait, it is a surprise attack. There was no warning. And it is on an American... I can confirm it now from inside Iran. This is the quote. I'm translating from the Persian. IRGC launches surprise attack on U.S. forces in Kuwait. Quote. This is like 10 minutes ago. I knew it. IRGC launches surprise attack on U.S. forces in Kuwait. We've been hit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been hit. We've been hit hard. Very hard with no warning. I need to brace you all for the reality that today is going to be very rough. We've been hit. This is not a drill. American forces have been hit in a surprise attack. This is Grant Smith Ellis for Towel News. We have been hit. You are looking at the footage. I can now verify it from 6 different sources, including 2 from within Iran and 1 affiliated with the IRGC, FARS, that the IRGC has launched a surprise attack on a U.S. HIMARS missile launch position in Kuwait near the Iraqi border, and they have struck with 3 ballistic missiles. It is unclear as of this moment, because the attack took place shockingly with no forewarning 15 minutes ago or so, whether troops have been hit. I do not know. I know there are troops there because that's how I know how the HIMARS station is set up for various reasons, because I saw a video from that specific launch facility, actually, from during the 40-day war. And the way it works is the troops are in a bunker, like a concrete bunker, about like 1,000 feet from the launch pad. And the missiles all launch, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all in a row. That's what a HIMARS launch is like. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But they're like, I don't know, 1,000 feet away from each other, left to right. And then the troops are set back from the launch position. Dude, if you strike that area, there are troops there. It's not abandoned. The troops are with the missiles. Fuck. Dude, they got stones, huh? Dude, they're flat. They're saying straight up, bring it. You want a bring it moment? This is your bring it moment. You're looking at it. They said bring it. My God, a surprise attack. They might have killed people. I need to be you all need to brace for that possibility. I don't want that to be the reality, but I can't sugarcoat it. When you surprise attack a missile launch base, you kill people. If they killed even one American soldier, it's going to get really rough. Even one. There's a rule in the American military. There's a rule. There's a rule generally in America. You kill one American anywhere, as a country, it's a crime against Americans everywhere. And it's a problem. It's a problem. And I know what you're going to say. There were casualties during the 40-day war. There were. Do you know what most of those were? Troops in flight. There were some casualties, some injuries, mostly which are serious, head injuries from shockwave blasts at bases. But most of the casualties in flight, over Kuwait, over Iraq. We lost SC-130. The Blood Guardians took it down in flight. It was refueling. We lost 3 jets, 3 F-15s over Kuwait. It was like a Kuwaiti dissident pilot who was actually pro-Iran. But they did get, I'll tell you, they did not kill a lot of American soldiers at bases. If they killed even one with a surprise attack, if you're looking at what I think you're looking at, this is a very serious situation. We need a little bit of time to fit all of us, like 30 minutes, to figure out what happened. But if this is what it looks like, you all should strap in. It's going to get rough. I was not expecting this. I just wanted to go eat lunch. I should have put this together, though. I read that tweet earlier about the square closing at 7 p.m. in Iran, in Tehran. I'm so dumb. I'm kicking myself because I should have known what that meant. This is brutal. Oh my. I can't sugarcoat it. Sorry. I was not expecting this. I've covered this war extensively for a long time. I've never seen anything like this during the whole war. They never pulled anything like this off. Because there was never how can you pull a surprise attack off when everyone's on a war footing all the time? Oh, they played us hard. What? Oh, I guess I can start a new goal. That's a good idea. Yeah, maybe I'll get lunch delivered. Oh, I totally skipped my lunch. I must focus, though. It is very important. Okay, I'm going to show you the new footage coming in from Kuwait. I have HD footage. We have been surprise attacked. I repeat, we have been surprise attacked. This is not a drill. Here is the HD footage. I'm going to show it to you full screen. Oh, one more time, please. We have been surprise attacked. American positions in Kuwait have been surprise attacked. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. I'm praying right now. We have been surprise attacked. This is not a drill. Oh, they hit us really hard. There are fires burning. That is not an abandoned base. You must understand. That is an active position. That's where missiles were fired like a few hours ago. Oh, this is bad. You all should lock in. The American military is gonna rain absolute hell down on the Iranians, like right now. Whatever the Iranians are gonna do, they better do it now, because they're gonna get hit. I'm telling you, this is not me endorsing or condoning. I'm just giving you analysis. They are gonna get rocked, like right now. It's gonna happen in like 10 minutes. Give it less than 10 minutes. They're gonna get absolutely lit up. Are you kidding me? I know a lot of you are going to say, but Grant, come on, how can you be incredulous about this? You can't. Grant, come on, like we do this to them. Yeah, I understand. Morally, I understand your point. But realpolitik-wise, you do this to the American military. Oh my, you don't understand. It's not Pearl Harbor. I understand. You know, I'm trying to keep this in context, okay? It's not Pearl Harbor. It is not. There's not like 3,000 troops there. But there are men and women, sons and daughters, in the American military who are right there. Right there, in the middle of that. And worse still, those are very important missiles. They're called HIMARS. They are one of our most important, like, assets. Not the most important. We have more important, but that is a lot of money burning before your eyes. There is a fire burning right there. I'm looking at the cook-off. That is, I can't believe they've done this. Dude, they must be very proud of themselves. They are standing around right now, just like, huh? How's that, Trump? Enough words. Wow. I didn't think they had it in them. I really did. Listen, I have called this war down the middle the whole time. From the beginning. I've called it straight down the middle. Sometimes I get mad when they like bomb the animals. When anyone bombs the animals. Nobody does that really though on purpose. Nobody really. Like, I don't know any side in this war that has intentionally bombed the animals. That, to everyone's credit, I just want to, before I be too critical, to everyone's credit, I am not aware of anyone who has intentionally bombed animals. I'm not saying that no one has caused animals to be hit by shrapnel or interceptors. That's very possible. Somebody really scared the cats in Dubai one time. They were really terrified by the interceptors. Well, some of the cats were interested. Most of them were scared. Not relevant, though. My point is, as far as I know, the one positive I can say about every side, all of them share this, is that none of them have intentionally bombed animals. Trust me, I would know. People would have freaked out. Nobody's done that. However, I have called this war down the middle the whole time. From day one, I've said when people that, like, from the country I'm from, the United States, have bombed targets that were grotesquely inappropriate. For example, the school in Minab, okay? Because it was outdated maps, because they missed, because it was an experimental missile, I don't know, it was wrong. That's the bottom line. I called out, going back to 2023, I was one of the few English language commentators, which is why the core, like, news, the press corps, back to 2023, I was one of the few English language broadcasters who covered the Israeli bombing of Al Nasser Hospital in Gaza. Me, Channel 4 in the UK, okay? Zena Kador, Ali Hashem, and Trey Yingst. There is a very small, it was Alex Thompson from Channel 4. There's a very small core of English-speaking journalists that actually cover South Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Gaza, Iran, etc., Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. One, because most of those countries are Arabic-speaking. Two, there's a lot of dialects of Arabic. Three, some of the countries, Iran, speak Persian, which is even more Farsi, which is even more complicated than Arabic. And four, there's not a lot of English language news there. So to get news from those countries, you have to either be able to speak Arabic or you have to translate Arabic. So going back to my point, I called it down the middle when Nasser Hospital was struck, when Al-Shifa Hospital was struck. I called it down the middle. I called it down the middle when Minab was hit. I called it down the middle when the targets in Beirut were hit by Israel, when the Jesus statue was hit in the head with a sledgehammer. Can't believe that even happened, by the IDF guy who was then jailed for 30 days. I covered when Iran tried to bomb with their Khorram Shahar in Jerusalem and they missed. And one of the bomblets hit a nail salon in the West Bank, killing 3 women, including a 17-year-old girl who were Palestinian. Okay, I've covered it all. I'm telling you, there's an ebb and flow to the war. This is an unimaginable, in the context of this current state of play, rules of engagement, Zena Kador, my colleague in South Lebanon, would call it an unimaginable escalation. Unimaginable. I'm almost impressed. I'm shocked. I'm very concerned. But I'm almost impressed. It's an incredible gamble. What they just did. What Iran just did. To fire 3 ballistic missiles in a sneak attack on an active U.S. military position. Whoa. I mean, they better be bracing. I imagine they are bracing. There hasn't been a response yet. Bear with me. If there is a response, I will know. I will know immediately. Hold on. I think there was a strike in South Lebanon. There was explosions in the town of Hadath 5 minutes ago. I'm trying to get more footage from this fire in Kuwait. I think this is the same footage. That is a very big fire. Very concerning. I really would like more information immediately. Here's what I have from Arabic sources, translating to the English 7 minutes ago. Here's the update. Iran targeted a U.S. military base in Kuwait with 3 missiles. They all directly hit the base. None were intercepted. This occurred just moments ago on Sunday. A large fire has broken out as a result. Iran targeted with precision missiles the U.S. HIMARS rocket depot in Kuwait, and all 3 missiles struck directly. According to information from sources on the ground as well, U.S. HIMARS rocket launchers that were ready to fire towards Iran from Kuwait were subject to a direct attack with Fatah 110 missiles. So Fatah 110. Oh, we were going to hit them and they hit us, huh? This is very bad. Just gonna breathe for a second. I'm not really sure how long this is going to take. You should expect it to be very soon. But yeah, it's literally burning right now. They won't show a live camera from Kuwait. I'll bring up the live cams. I imagine there's going to be another strike very soon. There's going to be another strike very soon. You should expect it. You should expect multiple strikes from Iran on the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, between now, let me give you the exact window, between now, which is, it's 7:26 p.m. in Iran, between now and midnight in Iran. So that is what, 4 hours and 34 minutes from now. So between 12 p.m. Eastern and 4:30 p.m. Eastern, you should expect them to fire round after round after round after round. Because I just have this suspicion. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it now. This is Hadath, South Lebanon, minutes ago. Okay, now I have more footage. I think this is similar to what we saw before. This is Kuwait. Just updating you. This is Kuwait now. Our base has been hit. Breaking attack in Keshev Island. Is that Qasem Island? 666 Ray of Light, so good to see you. Iran has just been hit. It's just got dark in Dubai at 7:46. Okay, so we have something called the Towel Early Alert System. Now, it's not 100% accurate, and you should pay attention to your local civil authorities. And I'm not ready to well, we're almost there. If I see one more strike from Iran anywhere, I'm going to activate the early warning system. However, you should all be aware that if the strikes are going to happen, they're going to happen in the next 4 hours, and they're going to be rough. If Iran gets bombed, I'm hearing initial reports that the American attacks have started on Kashev, Kashav Island. Iran is getting hit right now. So I predicted it. I thought it would be like an hour. It's actually now. Now, I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to take you through this. I don't have time to break for lunch, but I will have some lunch brought to me. You should expect there to be an escalatory series of intense tit-for-tat attacks right now. Chris reports multiple hits right now in multiple hits on Iran right now. All of the attacks seem to be on the coast and islands of Iran. Okay, the American attacks have started. I can report this. America was hit in a surprise attack. You're looking at the footage of it right now. This is our HIMARS launcher position in Kuwait. We have been hit. That was 15 to 20 minutes ago. Immediately, we hit back. The initial strikes just started. They are reported throughout the southern Iranian cities and the islands of Iran. As soon as I have more information, I will provide it to you. Now, we've been going for 4 hours. I thought this was going to be a breakfast stream, and then everything kicked off. If you'd like to buy a towel lunch or otherwise support this stream, I should do this every few hours, but I forgot. You can scan the icons on the screen. There's a cat on the screen. There's a Cash App. There's a Venmo. There's a PayPal. Cash App $, Grant Smith Ellis. Venmo at Grant-E1. PayPal.me/Grant Ellis. You can find the links in the chat and the stream description. Thank you for your support of independent journalism, and thank you for keeping me fed and alive. Oh, God bless us all. Thank you, Explorer. God bless you for your support. You all are wonderful, and I'm going to keep you updated. Now, I have nothing. Oh, just now. Explosions have started in multiple areas in southern Iran. I repeat, the American counterattack has started. My pleasure to all of you. I'm happy to be here with you. I repeat, the American counterattack has started. Iran is about to be hit. In fact, they are being hit right now. We can check the live cams. Let's see if Tehran gets hit. Hold tight. Iran is being hit right now. This expected to be very intense. Very intense. I repeat, Iran is being hit. At least 11 hits, according to Reporter Towel Chris. I repeat, at least 11 hits. I repeat, at least 11 hits. We're going to take a look right now at some live cams. This is how we monitor the progression of various developments. Explosions in Bandar Abbas and Qasem Island. I repeat, explosions in Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island. I repeat, explosions in Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island. You're looking live now at cameras from left to right. Tehran, Iran, Kuwait Airport. Then second row left to right, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, North Israel. Then bottom left to right, Tel Aviv, Central Israel, south of Tel Aviv, South Lebanon facing Israel, and Haifa. Now, we only have audio from Kuwait and Tel Aviv. But if anything, Kuwait Airport. So you won't hear stuff outside of central Kuwait. Oh! Sirens might be about to sound in Kuwait. Hold, please. That might be the call to prayer. I don't speak Arabic, so I don't know what the man said over the speaker. Hi, Kitty. So good to see you. You enjoy your ice cream. If anything happens, at least in Kuwait or Tehran, on that camera, you'll see it. I'm trying to think what is the best approach to this. Let me check my supplies. Alright, there is going to have to be a lunch break in our coverage at a certain point. And then I will start longer coverage for the night. I'm wondering if I should do it now. They're going to counterattack very soon. But I do need to eat. I also need to gather supplies. Okay, that's what we're going to do. 30 minutes. Okay? Most people would not do it, but I'm going to restart in 30 minutes. It's more important that I eat now before all this chaos breaks out. So, we're going to call this lunch break. You'll find another stream. It will start exactly on the same channel. I'd say within an hour. I'll schedule it. You'll see it go up. Alright? I will see you all maybe before then, but I'm going to go do it as quick as I can, and then I will speak to you when we're back. Thank you all for your support of Towel Channel. I will see you all. Trust me, developments will unfold rapidly today, and I will be here to cover them with you in the next hour. God bless you. The DD Thames, I agree. Take some time to breathe, folks. This is your mental decompression break, and you'll see the next stream go up, scheduled probably within the next hour. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. This was supposed to be Breakfast with Towel. It became an all-day thing. Thank you for those chilies. I won't say goodbye to you all. I'll say farewell for just a few minutes. Thanks for watching Towel News. Join me again in just a few hours, less than an hour, youtube.com/Grant Smith Ellis. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching, and keep an eye out for that next stream.